Arkansas and Rice. That was a game, the old Southwest Conference battle. First time they've met up since 1991. Arkansas, this game, they were down 17-7. All of a sudden, yes, sir, Sam Pittman got it going, and 31 unanswered. You saw it. Jalen Catalon picking up where he left off. He had 2 interceptions in that game. Only kind of disappointing part of it was A, the slow start, and B, Grant Morgan and Bumper Poole ejected in that game because of targeting calls. Grant Morgan will be back for the game against Texas, but Bumper Poole's going to have to miss the first half in what's going to be a sellout crowd when the Longhorns, who are 1-0, as they've defeated UL Lafayette, come into Fayetteville next week.
Speaking of Southwest Conference renewals, right? We get back-to-back weeks for Arkansas, which will be fun. But, yeah, I mean, again, it's an opener against a team that you're better than. KJ Jefferson was able to do it throwing the football, able to do it running the football as well. And as you mentioned, how about Jalen Catalon? You thought maybe last year might have been an aberration in terms of his production and interceptions and being all over the field. But the guy just has a nose for the football. 2 interceptions in that game against Rice on Saturday. So I think at the end of the day, it was a good performance, albeit a slow start for them.
I wasn't too concerned about the balls that sell. Now, he's been high. You know, that's where if he has problems, it's high. But, you know, I was watching some tape on some high school kids that are 4 and 5 stars and all. They miss play. You know, they miss it too. I've seen Dan Marino miss a pass. You know what I mean? I don't want to make a mountain out of molehill there. The disappointing thing, honestly, was both in the first half with KJ and one when you know he was outside the pocket, just throw the ball away and we threw a pick there. That right there was stress. That came from not having early success, and I'm trying to make a miracle happen out here. When we just throw it away, I think he would throw it away 9 times out of 10. I think he was pressing at that point. And then the very first play of the game, he's outside the pocket. Just throw the ball away. And I know he wanted to hold it there. And part of that, too, is you never tackle him in practice. And I think part of that was, I can get it off, and those were real reps. So I'm not real concerned about that because I think as soon as he becomes a runner, I think he's a better thrower. I do. I know that sounds silly, but I believe that it builds up his confidence. So we'll work on those things, but I think we've got the right quarterback for us to win. I think when the game, your intentions are always your intentions before the game starts, and then when the game starts like it did for us, especially offensively, you're trying to fix your starter and you're trying to fix your starters, I want to say this, I think KJ probably took a lot of heat this week, and everybody got their opinion, but the one that really matters is mine, and he's our quarterback, and he's going to be a heck of a quarterback for us, and you can't erase what's happened. You can't erase it. We didn't have a good first half, but you also probably need to talk about that the kid played well in the second half too, and he corrected it. And so Malik, I wouldn't have one bit of problem playing Malik, to answer your question. I think he would give us something different a little bit because of his speed, but he also can throw the ball. We just got caught up in a bad first half.
All right, we got to talk about this one because this one has been circled on folks' schedules for months now. It's been less than 2 months since Texas accepted their invitation to the SEC. On Saturday, they'll face their first SEC opponent in the Razorbacks. Texas has won 66% of its games against SEC opponents. Head coach Sam Pittman now previewing the matchup against the Longhorns.
Very, very strong, schematic guy. Uses his talent, and he has talent. He's got a lot of talent, skill position, and I think his running back is really, really special. He also returns punts, had one called back. Saturday also returns kickoffs. But he has more than just Robinson, but Robinson's special.
These two are familiar with each other. Saturday's meeting will be the 79th between the two former Southwest Conference foes. The Razorbacks have won 4 of the last 6, including the last one, which came in the 2014 Texas Bowl. It's the Longhorns' first trip, though, to Fayetteville since 2004. And they've been talking about this one, guys, since July. At least when I was there in Arkansas, they're already saying, okay, like everybody's going to be there, right? You guys are sending the house for this one. Roman, what are you most looking forward to about this matchup?
The performance of Jalen Catalon, the safety out of Arkansas, who is the best defensive back in college football and definitely in the SEC.
No cap.
No cap.
All cap.
Jalen Catalon is the man. This guy flies around. He makes plays. He had 2 interceptions. He's all over the place. Not only that, but Arkansas uses him. Barry Odom's coaching system puts him in definitely in the best position ever. He roams the middle of the field. He's playing zone. He's playing man. He's stopping the run. He's stopping the pass. I love watching this young man play. That is what I'm looking forward to seeing.
He just got pretty
Get him some oxygen. Yeah. He's jacked. He's fired up. Best DB in college football. Wow. And he's good. He's definitely good. Now, I've got concerns a little bit offensively for Arkansas, and maybe the scoring pressure. You heard Coach Pittman talking about how Steve Sarkisian can scheme up a really good offensive philosophy and approach. They've also got really good running backs. The Arkansas receivers have to help KJ Jefferson out. Yes, there was some accuracy issues, but not always.
No.
And when he did put it on target, you have to make these catches. These catches aren't just kind of catchable. This isn't within the catch radius. These are on-target throws. And when you're trying to break in a new starter at quarterback who is struggling in his own right, you got to step up because you've played receiver. You've been out there before. There was too much veteran receivers, too many guys out there that have had reps that weren't coming up with catches that they needed to. And this week, you can't afford to have drops like they did in week 1. This isn't news to anybody right now in Fayetteville. They know this. KJ Jefferson knows he has to play better, but his receivers have to give him an opportunity to be better in the passing game. It takes both.
One note to remember on the defensive side of the ball, Bumper Poole will not be able to play the first half of that game. He was ejected for targeting in the second half of week 1. More on that at the end of the show. Hold your horses, Roman. Our last conversation is going to revolve around what we saw on Monday night. Ole Miss taking on Louisville. We also saw this in the Arkansas game, and that is targeting. We saw 4 targeting calls on Monday night. And Roman, you were heated in our production call. What's your overall takeaway on the targeting that we saw this weekend and moving forward? What needs to change?
You know what let me just tell you how I feel. I hate the targeting rule. At some point, we have to do something. I don't understand why we punish the amateur athletes more than we do the professional athletes for doing the same thing. And also, as a former defensive player, I'm running to tackle somebody usually bigger than me, and when I get closer to this person, what's the first thing he does? Lowers his head. So what do I have to do? You want me just to stand up here and take it in the middle of my chest? Just let him just run over me so then I get shined on Instagram like Zamir White did for the Clemson DB?
You were mad about that.
No, I'm going to defend myself too, and I'm going to lower my head. You wear a helmet to defend yourself. It is helmet gear to keep everybody safe. The fact that these rules, I don't understand them, and the coach cannot correct my mistakes. So I'm just getting kicked out of the game for nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting because it does seem like they could fix this in that you could still introduce the element of safety because it protects the tackler or the hitter as much as it does the hit or the hitee, because you don't want to hit with your head down.
Correct.
But we have to think that there's some element of intent or lack thereof.
Thank you.
I'm not head hunting.
No.
I'm not looking to take a free shot on somebody. And absent that, you'd like to see the kids stay in the game. Charge the defense 15 yards or offense, as it were, but let them keep playing.
Because thinking of small sample size, that's certainly where we are. But you know what? For the sake of argument, Harry, Texas is back. Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, you're wrong. I love asking that question, though. It's fun every single time,
This is not really
right? Whether or not we're even
ideal.
close to that or not. But I do think that, to Texas's credit, right, that win against Louisiana was not nothing. Louisiana is not only one of the best teams in the Sun Belt, but I think one of the best group of 5 teams that we've got in college football. Obviously, Billy Napier is one of the most coveted coaching candidates that we've got. I will say this, though. From that game on Saturday, the one thing that you wanted to see out of Steve Sarkisian, if you are a Texas fan, is he going to get the most out of his guys? I think coming in, obviously, you want to hope that his offense is going to be the catalyst to do that. And you saw that. Now, we also saw last year that Texas is capable, despite an easy slate of games prior to the Red River game, they could lose one. I don't know necessarily that there is one on there, but they've got an easy path going there this year. Let's see if they keep it up.
Well, I think Sark, without question, picked the right quarterback. Boy, Hudson Card was really impressive, and he'll only get better and better. Mm-hmm. But I'm putting forth a petition right now to eliminate the phrase, is so-and-so back, from all college football language for every network on the planet. And here's what I'm putting on it.
I'll sign it.
Yes, there has to be a minimum of 18 games, of which 15 to 16 have to be won before you can apply are we back question. So it's gone. We're wiping it off the slate.
So we can't, no more Miami is back? Because that's like, every other week, I feel like. No, okay.
Well, Marvel picked Arkansas. Maybe it's because he knows there's a sellout at DWR Razorback Stadium. It's standing room only for the Texas-Arkansas matchup. I hope SEC Nation got their tickets because Musselman can't.
No more tickets available. Are you kidding me? I'm calling Coach Pittman. That's what I'm going to do.
Hey, Muzz, what's up, man?
I'm outside the ticket window. There's a sign that says no more Texas tickets.
Yeah, Muzz. It's true, man. Place going to be packed.
Coach Muss is so funny. Sometimes I wonder, if they're actually practicing or if he's just shooting social media content all day.
I know. It's high quality stuff. High quality. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the game.
Yeah. I was in Arkansas a couple of weeks ago during the summer visiting with some of the Razorback fans and players. And Drea, they've been talking about this game all summer long. This was before, we were weeks to football season and they were already like, y'all are sending the house, right? This is going to be the biggest game. It's sold out forever ago. And I'm so excited to see this one, not only because Texas, of course, recently accepted that invitation to join the SEC, but this is also a rivalry that we're getting to see renewed a little bit. Yep. And an Arkansas team that is really hungry for some national respect these days.
And I think the Arkansas fans are excited. I mean, last time these two teams met, Arkansas won 31-7, right? That was in 2017. But if you think about Texas, too, Coach Sarkisian is not new when it comes to playing Arkansas.
Right.
So it is going to be an absolute battle. I'm excited for it. I want to see Treylon Burks. Oh. That's who I'm looking out for. That's who I want to see play. He wasn't healthy in week 1, but Coach Pittman said he came out healthy and he should be ready this week.
I think you and everyone want to see Treylon Burks because he's one of the most fun players to watch in the country. How about Jalen Catalon as well on the other side of the football? I mean, he's one of the best defensive players in all of college football. He is going to likely wreak havoc on this Texas team there. Some of the nuggets you want to know about this Southwest showdown that you can watch 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. I also want to see KJ Jefferson, Drea, take that next step. This is a quarterback that Arkansas fans were very excited to see what he was capable of this year. You saw his athleticism on display in week 1, but you also saw a lot of drops from his wide receivers. Now, some of those passes weren't placed perfectly, so you don't want to put the blame specifically on one person there, but you go into week 2 against a team like Texas, you got to raise your game, and you like to think that some of those offensive kinks will get worked out a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. And you're talking offense, of course, I've got to go defense.
Of course.
Because, you have to see what is Arkansas's defense going to do against Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
Texas, week 1, 35% of their offense went through him, to him. Somehow he was involved. And you think about the amazing skill players that are in the SEC.
Yeah.
Right? Isaiah Spiller. You think about Texas A&M, right? Bijan Robinson is a huge test for Arkansas. If they can slow him down, that'll give them a little bit more confidence going into the SEC.
Yeah, I believe Bijan, outside of quarterbacks, has the best odds of a non-quarterback position right now to win the Heisman Trophy. So if you're unfamiliar with him, you will be against Arkansas this coming Saturday. We're hyped for this game.
We are.
Very hyped for this game. And
hyped.
that leads us perfectly into our next segment, Hype or Nah. We are bringing it back. What are we hyped for? What are we not so hyped for this week? Oh, yeah, you got the dance.
Yeah.
You're a better dancer than I am. I don't want to embarrass myself. Okay, so our first one. You ready for our first Hype or Nah here?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Bumper Pool and Grant Morgan were both ejected for targeting in last week's game. Poole and Morgan came on out of pocket, got ejected. Hype or nah? Does out of pocket get you ejected from that Saturday's game?
Nah, this should have been, does Alyssa Lang get you ejected? Don't even pull me into this, but I'm going to say.
Can you relax?
Nah.
Can you relax? Yeah, we're going big nah. I think coming on out of pocket gets you so hype. You're out there so hungry to make those tackles, but you can't lower the head. You can't lower the head.
Yeah. All right.
We're going nah on that one.
We're going nah. Definitely nah on getting ejected because
Come
of
on out of pocket.
Yeah,
come on.
Please, just nix 86, all of that right there.
We mentioned we will be in Arkansas on Friday, and to help everyone get ready for this huge game, Josh Bertuccini joining us, who is the voice of that part of the country on radio. Josh, great to see you, and tell us what's going on in Fayetteville as the game is getting ready to take place.
Is there a game this week, Paul? No, you're very kind to say all those things right there out the gates. It's great to be with you. And yeah, obviously Northwest Arkansas is all about Hogs and Horns, and this rivalry renewed this weekend, and it's a sellout in Fayetteville on Saturday. We're pumped up, Paul. You know that.
Yeah, and I mean, a sellout should not sound like a big deal, but I've been there a few times in recent years, and during the other coach's regime, there were plenty of tickets to get.
Exactly. No, I mean, you would think, Razorbacks in Razorback land, that it would be a no-brainer, that this thing would regularly be sold out. But unfortunately, the stadium expansion a few years back, and we haven't seen it filled up too many times. You didn't want to mention the names, but I'll do it for you. That we all know about the ditch and Bobby Petrino and how that led to Brett Bielema, and, how Brett seemed to have it on the verge but never broke through. And obviously after that, it was, the debacle of Chad Morris for 2 years. I don't know if there's a nicer way to put it than that. So Sam Pittman for the last 2 years now, year two in play last week with a season opening win over Rice. I think he's got a lot of good mojo going on. Certainly the fans are on his side. If he can come through with a big win on Saturday, it would go a long way towards putting this program back on the map again.
And Josh, the record doesn't indicate it, but tell us what's going on in that community and why there is such adoration for Sam Pittman.
It's a great question, and it's one that I think, Paul, you've started to answer on your show and your conversations with him, and I feel like even here locally, we're still trying to put our finger on it too. It's his personality. He's very charismatic. He's engaging. He's one of those people who, much like you, Paul, when you sit down to lunch with him or even just have him on your radio show for 10 minutes, you feel he's present. You feel he looks you in the eye. You feel like this guy's a straight shooter. And for folks in the South, that, especially in Arkansas, that goes a long way. Word still matters around here. So I think Sam Pittman brings that to the table. Recruiting reflects that. I mean, recruits are buying into what he's selling them, despite not, more than 3 wins last year, maybe 4. We include that Auburn game. So 1 win last week against Rice, and we'll see if he can get this second one. But obviously, folks feeling good about the vibes he's bringing.
JB, this is such a big game, and older fans understand the meaning of this rivalry maybe more than young folks. But in terms of what happened Saturday night, is this Arkansas team capable of pulling it off? Do they have enough players?
I mean, I think the easy answer is yes, they can pull it off. But I think they're going to need to play 4 really strong quarters. I mean, I think, you bring up the right way of looking at it. Do you have enough players? Do you have enough depth to beat Texas? And I don't know if we have the answer either way yet. I think you handicap this game. You look at it being what? Vegas has it at 6.5 right now. Texas favored on the road. That seems like a lot to me. Obviously, Bijan Robinson is a heck of a player. Maybe the best running back in the country. But, the rest of that Texas team is still very much a work in progress. Sarkisian has been honest about that. And I thought he looked the part last week watching that game from afar against Louisiana. And I think Texas is a big challenge. I think they are the favorite this weekend for a reason. But I feel like Arkansas's got some players folks around the country are about to find out about on national television, right, on ESPN this weekend. I'm thinking of Jalen Catalon, likely first-round pick, who's a safety for Arkansas. I'm thinking of Treylon Burks. who's a likely first or second round pick, wide receiver for Arkansas, and obviously the new young quarterback, KJ Jefferson, who runs really well, but is still a work in progress in the passing department. These guys are not household names yet, but this opportunity this weekend, national television, sold out already here in Arkansas. It's a chance for them to become more household names. I think Arkansas's got a real shot, Paul. I really do.
JB, I was on your show not long ago talking about the entrance of Texas, whenever that is, to the SEC. To the folks of Fayetteville who know this rivalry, and I think it's an underappreciated rivalry, how deep. We talk about 69, but I mean, these are two programs that have been going at it for a very long time. What does it mean to Arkansas fans to get Texas in the SEC?
You know, we had Ken Hatfield on the show this morning, and obviously he's the guy who was on the 64 national championship team at Arkansas, had a heck of a run as a head coach here in the 80s, some great success elsewhere. But Ken's a good guy to ask after his time on the playoff committee as well about the past and the present of college football, much like you, Paul. And look, I mean, Ken said to me this morning, you know, for folks in this generation, for the youngins, for people, 30 years and under, they just don't get it. It's not their fault. I mean, Arkansas, Texas haven't been in the same league in 30 years. And this game this weekend is actually 13 years in the making. They were supposed to play a home and home, and the first game got played in Austin back in 2008, and then Texas, kicked the can down the road, once, twice, maybe three times. 13 years late on making that up. So what does that say? That says Texas had other things going on. Meanwhile, Arkansas in the SEC is trying to get the credibility back. Here comes Texas back into town, like you mentioned, this summer. I think it's a great move for Texas. I think it's a great move for the SEC, and it brings back, like you said, an historic rivalry. I mean, visions of Frank Broyles and Darrell Royal and Nixon in the house in 69. I don't need to explain to you those epic games that the generations past remember. And those generations are very much still alive. I don't mean to talk about them like they're in the past tense, but it's dads, it's grandpas now who remember that burning passion, that hatred for Texas, that kind of feeling that's okay in sports where maybe it's not okay elsewhere. And it's unique, it's interesting, it's kind of like a big brother and a little brother relationship, but you know what? Little bro has beaten big bro 22 times. So let's not forget, over 80 years of playing each other, Arkansas does rear up and win this game a fair amount of times. We'll see what happens this weekend.
And finally, on that point, and yeah, there are fans of every school who remember a certain moment, but we're talking 52 years. And you know more than I do, but I've sat across lunch with you and your colleagues, my old boss, Dale Daniels, who runs your great cluster there. And there's still some Arkansas fans that cannot talk about that game in 69 without getting very emotional.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like that's one they should have had, and I've watched the highlights. I'm not going to tell you, obviously I wasn't alive yet. I'm not going to tell you I was there, but I've certainly read Terry Fry's book, Hogs-Horns and Nixon Coming, which is just a great book in general. And I don't know if the folks here at Alumni Hall have put that in stock yet, but they should, because that's a great holiday gift for anybody to get some context around the history of the rivalry. So, yeah, passion runs hot for Texas, no matter how often or how little they've played in the last few decades. It's good to see that they're coming back to the same league. We now know this rivalry will continue moving forward. How soon after this game the next one happens, we don't know. But Saturday's going to be fun, and anytime Paul Feinbaum and the SEC Nation crew are in the house here in Fayetteville, we know it's a huge weekend. So the exposure is great for the program. It's great for guys like me who get to come on shows like yours. And, Paul, you just tell your security, I'm going to bum rush you on the set on Saturday morning, so you be ready, okay? I'm coming for you.
I can't wait to see it. JB, it's always great to get out there. It's been 2 years, and we cannot wait. Hey, thanks so much. All the best to our many friends at your station and in that area.
Go Hogs. Thank you. See you, Paul. Absolutely.
I don't think that's allowed, JB. Great to have him with us. We'll take a break.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the game of the year. This is the home of the Razorbacks in the heartland of America, the foothills of the Ozark Mountains.
Billed as the game of the decade, Arkansas against Texas. It's doubtful any previous football game attracted so much undivided attention since it was the only game played December 6, 1969. The site, Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville.
I'd never been to Fayetteville. That's what coaches kept telling us, that Fayetteville's unlike anywhere else you've ever been.
You felt like you was going from civilization to another world, and it was another world.
My dad said playing in Arkansas is like parachuting into Russia.
It was a pretty hectic week for Fayetteville, Arkansas. You could tell something big was going on.
It started out when we got off the airplane.
We had flown into Rogers some distance away from Fayetteville. We thought it would be safer. Well, somehow somebody found us and it spread the word.
They came down out of the hills. Some of them is like they'd never seen pavement before. Their goal was to try to keep us up all night.
They were calling our rooms and trying to keep us from going to sleep at night, making noise outside.
They didn't like us, so they did cheers outside practically all night long.
We couldn't sleep real well, which we didn't. Then when we were on the bus, when we went through Fayetteville, it wasn't just a little shoe polish on the windows. I mean, it was red spray paint on the sides of buildings, sidewalks, everywhere.
Everywhere we went, all the businesses were closed down. All of them had anti-Longhorn signs on them.
I remember going by a drive-in. It had a big sign, it had little barricades. It said closed, gone to Texas funeral. And I thought, that's not just a little clever sign. That's the intensity of the environment we are in. That this is big. This is big.
We were told to keep our helmets on at all times, and it's kind of like, what? They're going to throw whiskey on you, and it's still in the bottle. So, okay, good idea. Keep your helmet on.
Talking about the famous Texas-Arkansas game on December 6th, 1969. They meet again Saturday in Fayetteville, and we're delighted to welcome Dr. Charles Robinson, the Chancellor of the University of Arkansas. Chancellor, I know you went to school in Texas, but I remember that game vaguely. You're probably too young, but I have a feeling we're going to see some of those. I hope we don't see quite that emotion, but we're going to see a lot of emotions Saturday night. Great to have you on.
Thank you, Paul. We're excited to play Texas, of course, and we're looking forward to it.
Well, it's really nice to talk to you. There's so many, we obsess here, this is a sports show, of course, about what happens on the football field, but I know you've been a distinguished professor, an author, and now the Chancellor at the University of Arkansas. There's a lot more to a university than cheering for the Razorbacks. Sometimes it's a tough balance, though, isn't it?
Oh yes, we're really happy that the entire state is proud of the University of Arkansas and the Razorbacks. But there's a lot more to us than our athletic program. We have a wonderful academic enterprise here, a wonderful research enterprise, and we have a great campus community. So I'm really proud to be part of this community, and we're excited about this weekend.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the University of Arkansas, though, because I think we know how great they are in basketball and in football and cross country and track and so many other, and baseball. But what makes this university so unique, in your opinion?
To me, it's the campus. It's a large campus. We have a record-breaking enrollment this year, over 29,000 students. But it still has a small town feel. I met with students yesterday who were students of our Bumpers College, and it's the approachableness of students to faculty and also to staff. The connections that can be made. Again, a big campus with a small town feel. Everybody matters. Everybody belongs. That's what makes the University of Arkansas a special place.
And I think, and I've spent some time there. Last time I was there, I got a tour of Springdale and Rogers and Bentonville, and I know that we think of Fayetteville But that is such an important community for commerce in this country. When you think about the Fortune 500 businesses and corporations that are headquartered there, and I know that has to be a tremendous boon to the community and obviously the university.
Oh yes, the Northwest Arkansas community is a great community for the University of Arkansas. We have wonderful support from many of our corporate leadership, our Northwest Arkansas Council. It's a great community, great place to live, and I'm really, really happy that we represent this community to much of the much of the country, and so we're excited to be on this platform. We want to play this game, but we know that there's a lot more to the University of Arkansas than our athletic program.
Doctor, I'm curious about your own background because I know you're now obviously the interim chancellor, and you've been at very high levels of the university, but you've also done a lot of time in research and teaching and in history, especially of the South, and I'm particularly interested in that, being a history buff myself. How studying, especially Southern history, which is a Shakespearean drama all into itself, and too often a tragedy.
Yes, I mean, I think being a historian helps me to be a better. I mean, I have an understanding of the culture, of the history of this place, the history of this region. And so to be able to communicate effectively, to talk about the challenges and also the opportunities. This place, I've been here 22 years, and so it's allowed me to grow and develop professionally. And so I think that it's a great fit for me. I love the university. And the university has helped me to develop as a professional. And now I look forward to every day contributing to the student and faculty and staff experiences in positive ways.
And history is so interesting. And I mean, no state period, but certainly no southern state can look beyond what occurred. But Arkansas, was a very troubled place. And I'm sure as you've studied that and so many other southern states, you tell me, it just seems remarkable where we are in 2021. I'm not trying to say the journey is over, but the state of Arkansas has come a long way.
There's no question about it. We have had our challenges, much as the nation has had its challenges in dealing with issues of race and inclusion. But the truth is that we are moving in the right direction. We have to keep moving. We can't be satisfied with simply being where we are. We're making strides, but there's more that we can do and that we are doing as an institution. And I believe that's true as a state and a nation, and that we have, the wherewithal and the inclination to live, better and closer to the creed of holding these truths to be self-evident, that all men, and I believe that's mankind, are created equal and endowed with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so hopefully we will continue to live and strive towards that greater good.
Well, that is certainly a remarkable thought. I'm curious, one more thing before you go. You mentioned talking to students, and I know as a provost and as a chancellor, and obviously as a professor, you interact. But I think we're all curious about what's on the minds of young people right now. What are they thinking about other than a football game Saturday night?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I've noticed here, particularly in this semester, is the excitement that students have with being back together. I think that year that we were forced to, really live in greater degrees of isolation was a challenge to everyone, operationally, psychologically, and being able to come back together. I think there's a rediscovered appreciation for this opportunity. And I walk the campus, every day, and I feel this energy, this excitement, and so I hope we can keep this momentum and keep our COVID numbers, reasonable, modest, low, and continue to have the face-to-face engagements that I think are so meaningful and so important to our student body.
Dr. Charles Robinson, the chancellor at the University of Arkansas. I can't wait to get there tomorrow, Chancellor. Thanks so much for making time, and we hope it's a great weekend in Fayetteville.
Kind of through history and talk about this one. Texas, Arkansas. I mean, going back to, the game of the century and, Richard Nixon at that point, right? Like saying, hey, declaring the champion back in the day. And what was that, 69, 64, you had a good battle. But now we get to see these former opponents back at each other's throats and really coming off the heels of a good week one victory for both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different storylines, obviously a lot of history of you've acknowledged, but I also think it's looking forward, too, with Texas now joining the SEC. I feel like it's almost an audition or like a dress rehearsal for what Texas is going to be facing as they eventually migrate here into the conference.
A big game for Sam Pittman. It's sold out. Let's hear from the head coach of the Hogs. Yes, sir.
Very, very strong schematic guy. Uses his talent, and he has talent. He's got a lot of talent, skill position, and I think his running back is really, really special. He also returns punts, had one called back Saturday, also returns kickoffs. But he has more than just Robinson, but Robinson's special.
Of course, he's talking about Bijan Robinson, who I guess right now he's got last 2 games that he's played, going back to the bowl game, a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. If he does it, he'll be the first person since Najee Harris was able to do it since 3 games in a row.
And what's in common there between those two?
NFL-style quarterback.
Well, the coach, Steve Sarkisian.
Steve Sarkisian, right.
The utilization of his skill, and Coach Pittman talked about it there, the guy knows how to put people in position to be successful. Go back and look at Devontae Smith's season that he had last year. Look at Mac Jones. Look at what Hudson Card is already doing at the quarterback position. So there's a lot to like about this fit with Steve Sarkisian being there at Texas and the amount of talent that they're able to get. I'm excited about the future for them, and I think they got the perfect coach for their university.
How much does this feel like future SEC Texas going and playing in Arkansas? I mean, how much?
Otherwise, I don't believe that there is as much on the line for Texas as there is Arkansas. Texas is the big brother in that relationship. Look at the all-time record. Texas has a big advantage there. I feel like Arkansas has built this up as one of their biggest rivals. We've talked to some former players and fans that have mentioned what Texas means to Arkansas. Texas has Texas A&M. They have Oklahoma. They have other rivals. So Arkansas is probably further on the list. But because of the dynamics of them coming into this conference, I feel like they have maybe a little bit more to prove in this particular matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it happens because I was really impressed with what Texas was able to do week 1 against Louisiana Lafayette, right? Because I thought the Raging Cajuns had an opportunity to shock a lot of people. They brought back a ton of success off of a very successful 2020 squad, and Texas looked really good. I don't know if it happens, but I am pulling for Arkansas to beat the hell out of Texas. I'm just saying that because
for the SEC network.
Well, yeah, I know, but I know that there's people that are already trying to claim Texas as an SEC member, and it's not quite there. So for me, this would be a monster game, and I think a winnable quote unquote upset for Sam Pittman to be able to do it at home. I think that would be awesome.
I've said this before. I know a lot of people think Oklahoma's a college football playoff team this year. Texas is on the way back. PB, I honestly believe that if you drop those 2 teams in the SEC this year, they're probably 3 or 4 lost teams.
I don't know about Oklahoma, and it depends.
Were you impressed with that victory over Tulane on Saturday?
No, but I mean, if you watch the game, they had Tulane handled. They just kind of played with their food a little bit late.
No, you obviously didn't watch the game.
I'm literally in studio watching the entire game.
Your attention, your ADD attention. You must have been watching multiple games because it felt like, Tulane early on, they were giving Oklahoma all they wanted. There was a margin of lead that they were up by, but Tulane came roaring back. So, I mean,
Tulane scored with like 3 minutes left, got an onside kick, and then they scored one more time.
They were winning early in the game.
All right, coming into number 3, power rankings for the week is
Texas at Arkansas.
Yeah,
I think this is one of the games that we're all kind of excited about here in the conference. We almost feel like Hey, Arkansas, you got to represent for the other 13 schools in this league. Texas and Oklahoma are coming in. Let's give them an early welcome as to what life is going to be like when you enter the grind of the SEC schedule.
If Arkansas wins this game, do they chant SEC?
Oh, there's no question. Yeah, I mean, wasn't that the best part of watching Georgia leave the field against Clemson? And you were there.
It was awesome.
I'm sure you were a part of the chanting, right? You probably led
Can I
it.
confirm nor deny that I would be a propagandist for the SEC?
We can't confirm that you were able to speak at that point in time either.
Well, did you hear me on Sunday morning radio? It was the struggle was real.
We are in the land of the Razorbacks, the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, and this place is very, very excited about this weekend. And we say hello to you on our first campus visit in almost 2 years. Nice crowd has developed outside Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, where tomorrow night the Texas Longhorns will be here. That's a game we'll be seeing more often in the future. There's a lot of news about the Big 12 today, and we'll deal with that. But right now, this is Texas's last 5 non-conference road games. They have not been pretty. They did beat Rice, but they've lost to pretty much everyone else. And based on what I'm hearing from the fans, they may lose another one tomorrow night. Roman Harper joining us. Roman, it's great to have you here.
Thanks,
you know what it's like to play in Arkansas?
I have one time, 18 years ago, Paul. It's been that long.
Only 18 years ago.
Only 18 years ago. I guess I tried to play professionally a little too long. That kind of kept me away. But it's good to be back. I don't remember any of this place. I don't remember any of these things. So it's been cool driving down the walkway and driving down the main highway that comes right through the stadium and really seeing these fans and the people. Everybody's excited to have us here.
Well, the first thing you notice when you get here are the hills. And if suddenly we just fall off our set here, it's because we are on an embankment. You can't find a piece of flat land in Fayetteville. And I want to talk to you about the Arkansas Razorbacks because a lot of people were underwhelmed by their opening game. What did you see?
I saw an offense that struggled at times. They did not catch the ball well. The wide receivers dropped way too many passes. At the end of the day, that's what it was. And they're depending on them, especially when you got a quarterback that has not started a lot of games in KJ Jefferson. That builds confidence in himself. He understands what's going on. And also, he started to press a little bit. He threw some throws where he probably could have just thrown the ball out of bounds or took it and run it. And now he tried to force it in there because he hasn't had a lot of success. And he wants to be successful just like every other player and athlete does. So when things are not going well, they have a tendency to try and push or force things. That's what I saw a lot of. And they did not block well either. They have to be better in the run game to take pressure off for KJ. And then when he throws the ball, you got to make the catches when the ball hits you in the hands. And if they do that, they will be better tomorrow. I hope they play better because they have to represent the SEC like they should. And just let everybody know that, hey, Texas, you're not just going to walk into the SEC and get free handouts.
Conversely, Texas maybe exceeded expectations. I mean, there were pundits out there. There are always pundits out there who were calling for an upset because last year Louisiana went into the Big 12 and scored a huge win at Iowa State. Are we giving Texas too much credit? First game under Sark.
No, they won the game. You give them credit for that. I thought their passing game looked a lot like Texas of old versus Alabama of last year, so it is not the same. Everybody wants to try and compare them just because he just came from Alabama, but it looks a lot like Texas of old. They have a really good running back in Bijan Robinson who's going to get the ball in all different areas and facets of the game. They split him out at wide receiver. They hand it off to him. They allow him to block in the run game. He's a really, really special player with a lot of talent. But you look at who they play last week? Louisiana. I almost said Monroe, but you look at Louisiana.
It's in Louisiana. Come on, Roman.
But it's in Lafayette. I got it.
It is.
They dropped a lot of passes, too, from the receiver side. So you look at it, if either one of these teams catch the ball, Texas or Louisiana last year, the scores and the feel of the game just has a different feel of it. And I think the game would have been a little bit closer for Texas.
Arkansas, didn't exactly knock anyone over last week, but there's a lot of optimism about this program. What did you take away from week one?
Well, I thought their defense still played pretty well. I thought their offense didn't execute the way they wanted. I think they would say that. But that's also why you have a week one, to improve from it. And I think they have the players, if they execute, can be a formidable offense. But they need to be a lot better tomorrow night to be able to beat a Texas team that is improving. But also, I like their quarterback and their running back, and they're doing some pretty good things. But Arkansas, as a culture, I love the way this program is going. Like, just being around here today, I mean, honestly, it's hard. It's really hard not to like the coaching staff. It's hard not to like the strength staff. It's hard not to root for these players. I mean, you talk about Jalen and Bumper and Grant, and you like them as people, and so then you root for them as players. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons I root for Arkansas is because I think they're one of the hardest playing teams in the country. And I think, you know, if Sam's able to continue to build that culture, get more people to invest in the program, more fans, more money, more recruits, I think you'll see that continue. And I don't think they'll hit their peak, at least for a couple of years, because I think they're building something that they'll have a chance to sustain, and I'm excited to see what that is.
Tim, this is a unique place. It's really the only game in town where you grew up. There's a lot going on, and I'm curious how you think he has been able to do it, because he's just a. I mean, it looks like he could be in the stands tomorrow night as opposed to on the field coaching.
Yeah, but I think that's exactly the point. Is he could be. He's real. He's transparent. He's authentic. And when you have that, you're different than other people. Like, a lot of these coaches just stand up and they say coach speak. They talk to recruits as if it's a business decision, right? And I think the one thing that has separated Sam is when I talk to his other coaches, when I talk to his players, is they're like, hey, when he tells us something, that's what he does. Like when he says, hey, this is our script for practice, they say he never changes it. Like a lot of other coaches, they'll say, this is the script, but if it doesn't go good, you're going to run sprints, you're going to do 20 more plays, you're going to do this. They say he never does that, and the players have bought into it. They bought into his strength coaches. I mean, you look at the numbers in the weight room of a lot of the players before he got there to where they're at now, they're a much more physical team. They're a much more bought-in team, and now that gives them a chance when you execute and when you get better recruits to now have a chance to win the big games.
Talking to Tim Tebow, and certainly high on the culture here, and we will talk to Coach Pittman very soon. And it's hard to find anything to any fault with him because of the authenticity. The favorite son of this state, Coach Sam Pittman, joining us. And Coach, that was a nice cheer. It's going to be a little louder tomorrow night. Great to see you.
I hope so. Thank you. We're supposed to be packed in here, so I'm excited about it. Our kids are.
Well, you're not from too far away from here. You know how important this rivalry is. I'm sure you've heard about it a few thousand times in the off season. But before we get to tomorrow night, let's talk about week one. And you don't know what you're going to get, and a lot of people, maybe including you, still don't know what you have.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't think we do. I think we'll find out a little bit more about our football team. Certainly started off slow. Talked about KJ Jefferson, but there was 4 good balls he threw that we dropped, and certainly we're looking forward to playing much better. I think we will. I know we can. And then of course in the second half we turned it around a little bit, and our speed and our size kind of wore them down, and ended up scoring 31-7 in the second half. So I don't know how it would have been in the past, but I was glad that we were able to turn the game around and get a win.
You built a program on a lot of different things. Tim Tebow was here a minute ago, and he was apparently in your weight room today. And he's Tim always talks about the strength and conditioning. Not that you don't as a line coach, but as you see what you put on the field last week, you spent all your game planning. What goes through your mind when all of a sudden it looks like you haven't been practicing?
Well, we had a punt blocked, and it was simply as we didn't turn out on a punt, which we do every day at practice. So at that point, you're going, hey, okay, when are we going to right the ship a little bit, and we tried to do it. We made an adjustment trying to run the ball inside early, even in the first half, and we didn't have great success there. And so at some point you go, okay, let's get them grouped back. Let's understand what it really is. And it was a 3-point game at half. Sometimes you can lose games by feeling like you're down 30 and you're down 3. Just make a play here and there, and you're back in the game. So that's what we tried to do.
You've had, obviously, in year one, a lot of big games, just to say the least. But tomorrow night's completely different. It's not your Alabama or Auburn or LSU or Texas A&M. It's history. There's not a person in this state that doesn't have that's at least over 30, that doesn't have some recollection. And I know that it can get out of hand a little bit in terms of buildup and pressure. I know you want your team to feel a little bit of pressure, but how do you temper them? Because this place will be on fire tomorrow night.
Well, we told them, you know, when you play in the SEC, you play a lot of big games, you know. Well, we're feeling it, and that's what we want to do, is from our fans. I mean, we're feeling it. You know, I got ridiculed a little bit last summer. Someone asked me, what is our rival? And I said, to the state of Arkansas, it's the University of Texas. And I said, well, you don't play them anymore. You'll see tomorrow night that in the state.
You knew they were about to get in the SEC.
Yeah, I knew that. In the state of Arkansas, it's University of Texas, and you'll feel it tomorrow night. And I think that'll be a big advantage for us.
And that's so unique. And I know we have a lot of young people behind us, and they've probably seen that newsreel from 1969 more times than they want. You've probably seen it.
But we showed the 64 clips to our team this week.
Now that's a little better year.
Yeah, we did.
I am interested in that, though, because I love watching those old clips. And I went back this week and read some of the articles about 69 and even 64. I remember being here a couple of years ago when the team was being honored. I guess it was the 50th, and Jerry Jones was sitting right up here with us, and that's Arkansas history.
It sure is. And you know, Coach Hatfield coached here, and he returned the punt, you know, to end up beating Texas in that 64 matchup. So anyway, so there's so much history between the two teams. I think at the time we left the Southwest Conference, they had Texas at that point had 21 championships, and we had 14. So, you know, it was a big deal. It's just like now we win this side, and whoever you play in the SEC championship, it's that. Back then, it was that type of a rivalry.
When you were not that old at the time, but what do you remember about either one? 64 might be pushing it, but 69 you certainly remember.
Yeah, I was 8, you know, at the time, but I can remember the passion that Arkansas and I guess it's the hatred that the Arkansas people have towards Texas, you know, and so I can remember that. You know, my uncle. From 4 years old, I'd listen to the radio games, you know, and of course you knew when they were playing Texas because he wouldn't work on his car the entire time, you know. So it was a big deal and has been, and of course, again, you can see it around town, you can feel it, you know, the excitement from our fans.
And I think that's I don't want to act like I know that much about Arkansas. I lived literally across the river growing up. That doesn't mean I was over on the other side of the Mississippi, but back then, nothing else mattered. And quite frankly, I've been here a couple hours, Coach. I don't think anything else matters now. I mean, the programs have not been that great. Many are optimistic, but is it the optimism you think that has people, you know, feeling so good about themselves?
Well, I hope so. I mean, it's the belief. You know, it's what you're trying to do is get belief in your players and in the fans that you can win ball games. You know, and I think that was the biggest thing. The hardest obstacle to overcome here was our players believing we could win and our fans believing we could win, and we've got it right now, and so we'll see what happens.
I know. I mean, you know, 26 hours before the game, your mind is on what's going to happen, but you never stop recruiting. You never stop, you know, pushing this thing forward. But it is pretty remarkable from that first day you arrived. It was a pretty cold December day to where things are right now.
Thank you. You know, I remember you asked me about Barry Odom, you know, on the show, and ironically, he was on his way to Arkansas. And since that time, we have turned from we can't compete to we can compete. Winning and losing, we're not where we want to be yet, but we can compete, and I think that gives us hope. And we told our kids today, you know, they got 11, we got 11. We've got a good football team. They've got a wonderful football team. Let's go see what happens.
And I know, and I can't speak for anyone other than myself, but it doesn't seem like the world will come to an end either way tomorrow, although a win, I take it back, it might come to an end. But how do you approach a game like this, knowing what is around the corner? It's the gauntlet. It's what you faced last year, a little bit less, but not much less. But on the other hand, you've already said it. I mean, this you can't undersell the University of Texas to an Arkansan.
Well, the selection committee ought to select me because we play 1, 2, 5, 15, 20, and 25.
You don't want to be on there yet.
No, I don't want to be on it. But I'm going to know who the good teams are because we play them all. And so this is just another game. Sunday's going to come up no matter what happens. Right. Obviously, we want to win Sunday, but we need to get to that 6-win plus threshold. That's what our program needs. We need to get respectability. And every game, we're not playing a schedule today. We're playing Texas Saturday. So whatever happens, we still have a lot of work. We have 10 games left.
You're one game and 1 year and one game into it. I've talked to people here, and they still think a lot has to happen. A lot has to happen. Regardless of tomorrow or even the rest of the year, what happens next off the field that you have to accomplish?
Well, we have to do a better job of recruiting. We have to get big. I believe we could change our program the fastest by getting fast athletes, and we're still not big enough. We're still not strong enough yet. We're headed in that direction. So it just becomes of maybe another class or two of recruiting and developing the ones we have where we can continue to compete at the high level.
Clearly, if you live in this surrounding area or in this state, everyone knows what's going on. But you also have to get outside of here. You have to go beyond the state boundaries. And when you're talking to those players, everyone that says you've been in their living room or been to their school talks about your authenticity. How do you get over the hump with those difference makers?
Well, that's hard. That's hard because we're in a league where there's so many logos. There's so many named teams in our league. We have to control the state of Arkansas. That's where we have to win in Arkansas, which we're doing. But I also need to hire coaches that have the same passion and belief that I do. So whenever they go in, their authenticity is just like mine, and they believe that this is the greatest university in the country. And when we do that, which we do have those guys on our staff, then I think we can convince, hey, give us a shot, give us a try, like we did on the O-line when I was here the first time. We had as good offensive line as there was in college football when I was here year 2 and year 3, and we went to Florida, Minnesota. We went all over the place, California, to get our kids.
I know you got work to do. I don't want to be accused of holding you up, but I know a lot of folks behind us and watching and listening across this state and the country are really excited by what you've done, and all the best tomorrow.
I appreciate you. Go Hogs.
You got it.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Coach.
Go Hogs.
Sam Pittman joining us. We are coming right back. We're live in Fayetteville. We are back. The second half of the show is live from Fayetteville, and what a second half we have. We've already talked to Coach Pittman, and let us introduce again, I don't know why my computer's talking to me, but Hunter Yurachek is joining us. Hunter, we've talked to you so many times. We were out here a couple of years ago. I think it was maybe 15 degrees.
Yeah.
It's a lot better today.
It is a lot better. I think that time you were here, we had parkas and heaters and brought you coffee in the morning for sure, but just a beautiful day here in Fayetteville.
Well, things are so exciting, and I know ultimately things have to progress on all aspects. But just describe this week and what we are going to encounter not only tonight after we go off the air, but tomorrow with the University of Texas coming in here.
Sure. I think we all took a collective breath at halftime of the Rice game. Our team came out and played very well in the second half. And from that point on, it was Beat Texas week. And the energy in and around Fayetteville, Northwest Arkansas, and the entire state of Arkansas, you can feel it all week. And you can feel it building to what we expect is going to be a special night at Razorback Stadium.
Let's talk a little bit about what is going to happen here. You were telling me festivities nonstop until tomorrow night.
Absolutely. It starts tonight. We drive Tusk around campus with their cheerleaders. We have a big pep rally that'll end at our outdoor amphitheater. That'll progress down to Dixon Street where our students hang out for most of the night. And then tailgating will start robustly tomorrow morning. We've got Hogtown out here 4 hours before the game. Our team walk, the Hog Walk. And we've got a special tribute to 9/11 as well inside the stadium.
Hunter, we've had so many conversations over the last year and a half, and you've been so kind to come on and give us a status report. And tomorrow night is going to be an explosion of energy and excitement, but you still have to deal with COVID, whether any of us want to or not. We have to. How are you, or how have you dealt with that to try to find as much safety as you can?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, my main responsibility is to ensure the safety and well-being of our student athletes and our staff. And our football team is over 90% vaccinated now, as our entire staff is vaccinated. So feel really good about our student athletes and our staff. And then as we talk about our fans, we're following our campus policies, which is masking in indoor spaces such as our club areas and our suites and restrooms. And we ask our fans to be respectful of each other and their decisions first and foremost, and to follow that policy.
And in terms of what's happening tomorrow night, we've seen it everywhere. We saw it last night in Tampa. It seems, I'm not trying to create something out of cloth here, but it seems like for the most part things are going fairly well.
I think things are going very well, and I think everybody just is hoping for that sense of normalcy. And I think professional sports, college sports, give you that sense of normalcy when you see those crowds in stadiums like you did last weekend across the country, and you saw last night as the NFL season kicked off.
Let's talk a little bit about what's happening today in college athletics. University of Houston, a school you know very well.
Absolutely.
And three others are heading to the Big 12, Texas, Oklahoma, heading this way. We don't know when. It's an uncertain time in intercollegiate athletics. As someone who has seen it all from a couple of different views, we are curious about your view.
Well, first and foremost, I'm excited for Dr. Couture and Chris Pesman and the staff at Houston for the opportunity that they have to join the Big 12 and become a Power 5 institution. Excited for that. That was always the goal there. And for us as the SEC, we're excited to welcome Texas and Oklahoma as members of the Southeastern Conference, two of the premier brands in all of college athletics. It makes our conference even stronger than it already was. And tomorrow's night here with Texas, it's the first major competition against either one of those schools within this conference. Happens to be against one of their longtime rivals, and I think you'll see how special Texas and Oklahoma's additions to the Southeastern Conference can be tomorrow night.
And as someone who tries to bring people together to find collaboration, I am curious what you think about a lot of the shots that have been delivered against a man that I know you will see or have seen already, and we will see in about an hour, Greg Sankey, because everyone knows what happened a couple of months ago, and everyone would have done the same thing. How do you feel about some of the attacks on him?
Well, I think they're not warranted, first and foremost, because I think as you're saying that Commissioner Sankey did what he thought was best for the Southeastern Conference, and the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, the Pac-12 would have all done the same thing if Oklahoma and Texas had knocked on their door. And if they're being honest, they would tell you that. And so, I admire Commissioner Sankey and his leadership, and he's taken this conference. He's elevated it. I mean, we got through COVID last year, I think, really because of him and his leadership, and it helped all of college athletics. And this is just another one of those leadership moves that he made in welcoming Texas and Oklahoma to the Southeastern Conference. And so, I understand people's feelings are hurt by that, but, he's doing what was in the best interest of the SEC and the presidents and the athletic directors that he represents.
As an athletic director who has already sat in on some of those meetings and will sit in on many more, trying to figure out what it's going to look like, I bring that up because only Arkansas can claim the toughest schedule in the country 2 years
yes,
in a row.
Right.
What can you tell us about? Yeah, and I realize we're not there yet.
Sure.
We don't know when Texas and Oklahoma come in. But what are your thoughts on how the SEC is going to look whenever that happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think we looked at 27 different iterations of potential football schedules when we met a few weeks ago as athletic directors with Commissioner Sankey and the conference staff, and that's just one of the models that we really want to make sure. One of the keys to the models is we want to make sure that we get to every campus within a 4, 5, or 6 year period. Right now, it's a 12-year period in that cycle, and so whatever that model looks like, I think the number one priority that we're all in agreement is that we have an opportunity for our student athletes to compete in each other's campus at least one time during their career.
And does that mean, or do we not know yet, the dissolution of East versus West?
I think everything is on the table right now. I think there's some pod models, some divisional models, some straight 16-team models, and I don't think I know there has not been any decisions made. And again, we looked at 27 different models, anywhere from 8 to 10 games, and so I think everything is still on the table. We want to make sure we do what's best for our league and the health of football within our league, and make sure we position ourselves to continue to compete for national championships.
We know because everyone who's ever lived in the state knows the importance of Texas. We know the importance of Texas A&M. Missouri's up the road. Oklahoma's across the street. How do you, if asked, who do you want to be your rival? How do you decide that?
Sure. Well, I don't know that we're going to get to decide exactly who's going to be our rival. And there's no days off in this league, from football down to men's and women's golf. This is the most competitive league in all of college athletics. And whoever you draw, whether it's an 8-game, 9-game, 10-game schedule, as we saw last year, you're going to have a gauntlet that it doesn't matter who you are.
And finally, before you go, the second part of this puzzle is what we thought was going to be a 12-team playoff, and now, depending on where you read or what you read, everything is on hold. You're considered among the very top leaders in intercollegiate athletics. So, where are we on the playoff?
I think we're still considering the models that range from an 8 to 10 to 12-team playoff. I don't think that anyone has made any definitive decisions. I know the group is going to meet here later this month, but I think as the SEC, we would be supportive of a model that expands the playoff, and whether that's the 8 teams or 12 teams, still yet to be determined. I know, obviously what happened with the Big 12 will have some bearing on that today, and so I think the best thing we can do is not rush and make a bad decision, because the playoff has worked really, really well for college football. And we want to make sure whatever decision we make next continues to work well for college football.
Hunter Yurachek, who's a very busy man right now, and you got a couple to the game. I'm trying to get in.
Absolutely.
You've been asked that this week?
I have a few times, yes.
Great to have you here.
It's great to be here. Thank you for being here, Paul.
Such a pleasure to have Hunter Yurachek on. We are going to take a break, and we have some major guests remaining, including the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, and Joe Tessitore. He'll drop by. He's doing the game tomorrow night. We're live in Fayetteville, and Joe Tessitore has arrived. So everything. I was just thinking yesterday. It seems like yesterday we were sitting here together with Jerry Jones.
We've had some great times here through the years.
We really have.
In Razorback and Hog Country. We had Jerry Jones once sitting between us, and Marcus, I believe, if I recall the story, Marcus mentioned something about Jerry's shoes, how expensive the shoes were. And Jerry turned to him and said, well, I gave you enough paychecks to buy some nice shoes, too.
And while he was looking at him, Jerry took off his shades, very famous shades.
That's right.
And I grabbed them and put them on. Now, what's Jerry worth?
Oh, please. Well, the Cowboys are one of the most expensive franchises in the world, billions.
He's worth tens of billions of dollars.
Correct.
And he looked at me like I had just wiped his Goldman Sachs account out.
No, you crossed the line. That would be like if I was in London and I grabbed the Queen's purse. That's pretty much the equivalent. In America, that's the equivalent. Taking Jerry Jones, $40,000 sunglasses would be like reaching in, hey, Queenie, you got some gum there? And that would about be the equivalent.
I was just hoping he didn't notice. He did.
Jerry's going to be here tomorrow. So is Stephen Jones. So, this is a huge one.
Yeah,
Paul, listen, you say what you want about a lot of different games that you can put on the schedule, right? And rivalries that have been dormant. There is something about Texas-Arkansas that I'm not sure the rest of the nation gets. And then you come here, and the Hogs fans, the Razorbacks fans generationally, I believe that there is a certain generation of Razorback fans that hates Texas more than they like themselves.
Well, it's interesting. Coach Pittman was by earlier, and he alluded to the statement he made earlier this summer that these guys, Texas, that's the biggest rival, and some fans didn't.
Oh, it is. It is. See, what I love about the game that we're broadcasting here Saturday night is that it's got a lot of the past, it's got a lot of the present, but it's got a very, very attractive future, right? Because the past is 1969 and winning the national championship and Richard Nixon. It's 1981 and Lou Holtz upsetting #1 Texas.
Right.
It's 2004 And the present is the anticipation of all of this, right? The present is the ascension of two programs getting back to where they deserve to be. And the future is that we're going to have a tremendous SEC rivalry, the rebirth of a rivalry, and you're going to have it in the SEC.
So, Joe.
Yes, Paul.
Still thinking about stealing something from the Queen. Which
Jerry Jones's sunglasses. The man. You also were in a dunking booth.
I was.
Here
Yeah.
once
Were you throwing the balls, or was you were laughing?
I can't. I think Tebow may have been throwing the balls.
Please.
Is he here today?
Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's here. He's part of the SEC.
Excellent.
I know you've been gone. You've been off. You've been off hanging around billionaires, but we're still here. Nothing's changed. For those who don't know what we're talking about, and that would include probably most of the audience, Joe Tessitore, who's sitting right here, was the original host of SEC
Yeah, but see,
Nation.
that's like a trivia question now because Laura Rutledge has taken over the world.
Yeah.
She's like the biggest star in all of media.
She's
like this, she's her own solar system of media personality. I think she's done 17 shows today, by the way. She's anchored about 17 network shows.
She hosted The View
so
while you were watching.
She was hosting The View. She's doing World News Tonight, NFL Live. So nobody cares that I was the original host of SEC Nation. Who, by the way, auditioned all of you guys.
You did well. I don't
What
know
a
if
mess!
I'm
What a mess we created.
I'm not sure you auditioned
What a mess
me.
we did. I audition?
No, I think.
Wait a second. I do recall walking into a radio studio in 2009, 2010. But
more like 2011. But the point
was
being,
it 2011?
Yeah, it was right after.
When did we do Roll Tide War Eagle?
2011.
Was it 2011?
Yeah. Okay. I've told that story.
That's it. Hey, we got a good game tomorrow.
Yeah, that's where I was going. I was trying. I'm gonna pull a trick here.
Go ahead.
That drives me crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
You're sitting there like Herb Street on game day or McElroy or whatever. You go, okay, hey, Herbie, what do you like?
Well, I'm calling the game.
I'm calling the game.
I'm calling the game.
Well, I'm doing a show from the game tomorrow, Joe, so I can't call it until the end of the show.
Right.
Tell us about this game.
Well, the game is fascinating because listen. You have an Arkansas defense that is extraordinarily well coached with Barry Odom, who has two, all SEC type linebackers. Has a guy who I think may be the best defensive back in all of college football in Catalan. Kyle Hamilton. I just did the Notre Dame Florida State game, was a thriller. This guy I think is equally as good. So you got an Arkansas defense that is very much up to the task of taking on anybody. You have a Texas offense that, yes, in Hudson Card, you have a young quarterback who's going to be thrown into the fire in an atmosphere that he's never had before. But you have, in Bijan Robinson, I really believe this. If he stays healthy, the things he has shown so far, the flashes of athleticism, the burst, what he can do in the open field, this guy may end up in that upper tier of all-time great Texas running backs. Now, hit the brakes. Hold on a second. How can you say that when there's Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams and Cedric Benson? I really believe he has the physical traits to be that.
You just brought up a guy that, in fairness, most people outside of that cocoon in Texas have never heard of.
That's okay.
And you just compared him
That's right.
to Earl
That's exactly
Campbell.
what I said. No, I said he could be.
Well, but you know how the interpretation
I understand that.
I didn't hear it, he could be. I heard that he's on his way to being.
He does things. There are certain moments when you watch Bijan Robinson where you say, normal guys can't do that. Normal guys don't do that. Now, he has pure speed, but yet he has power and body control. The guy in the open field, out of the backfield, he's dynamic as a pass catcher. In between the tackles, he's excellent. I'm telling you, Paul,
I mean,
this guy...
That's like going downtown here for karaoke night.
Yes,
going,
that would be great.
That guy's in the same league as Sinatra.
Don't you ever say that name with anybody. If you could go with Barry Manilow, you could go with Paul Anka. I'll anybody you want, okay?
I've been to your restaurant.
Never bring up Sinatra.
I mean, you walk
like
in
that.
and there's friends.
So, you know what? I was just talking to Arkansas's AD, Hunter Yurachek. I'm sure he already talked to you. I'm sure he told you about this stadium being completely packed tomorrow, which I'm excited about, and I think it really factors into the game. I know that may seem obvious to some people, but you forget what that place sounds like, specifically this stadium, when it is rocking the way that it can.
Well, this place has been dormant for a long time. I remember a couple of years ago we were here doing features on, you were doing features on Brett Bielema's wife. I mean, that's
I was. I liked her little dogs.
She was cool.
Yeah, she still is cool.
She's still there.
Yeah, you're right. Like they are itching for some success from this team. Got a little taste of it last year, but it wasn't the same because of everything going on. And I think this year, listen, tomorrow, huge opportunity for them to make a statement. I feel like if they win tomorrow, as difficult as their schedule is beyond that, this Arkansas fan base wants to see this big win tomorrow against an old rival, and then they might be okay with whatever else is coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, like, it's going to be tough no matter what, but...
Yeah, I mean, you look at the SEC, and, everyone's converted well.
Yeah.
And Arkansas, came in the SEC in 1992, but Texas is still their biggest rival.
I know. Stop. This is a really historical rivalry, though. There's a lot to it.
Now, yeah, there is, and it's funny. I was talking to somebody here today about. I know about the '69 game. That's the one that's replayed.
Right.
And then somebody from Arkansas said, "Yeah, but we were the '64 game." I'm going, I don't even remember that. I don't remember.
You weren't alive then.
Well, Bear, I was alive, but it didn't mean anything because that's a national championship that is still in dispute. I made the mistake a couple of years ago saying this to Jerry Jones.
Oh, what did he
was
say?
On that team. They won that year, but Alabama also claims the national championship in '64.
Well, who actually is the national champion in '64?
I will not answer that question while I'm on Arkansas ground.
I really tried to pin you down there. It didn't work.
Ask me in Alabama in a few weeks.
All right, so if we end up in Tuscaloosa.
Actually, the question would never come up in Alabama.
Good point, Paul. You are so savage. You are so subtle, and you just keep throwing these digs in there. I'm sorry, everybody, but he's so good.
Millions of essays have been written about Arkansas and Texas.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a couple for tomorrow. If you're a stranger or an alien from outer space, how would you describe this rivalry to them?
Well, I think it depends on how old they are, right? I mean, if you're our age, then, I growing up in the Carolinas, Arkansas was the biggest game on television. Like, you stopped what you were doing. I had no ties to any of either one of those teams. It just felt... I just remember thinking that game sounded so loud. Like, it just was, whether it was here or whether it was in Austin, it just felt so loud. But then, and I was a student at Tennessee when Arkansas joined the Southeastern Conference, yay. But there's really two generations of fans that don't know. I mean, it was, 2003, 2004, 2010, that's kind of it. And so, I've said this to you before, and I've said it to Commissioner Sankey before, which is when conferences make moves or schools make moves, canceling a series or moving to a new conference or whatever, I think the old guys in charge kind of take for granted that everyone's always going to love the game. But like Texas A&M, I've talked to coaches on both sides about that. Everybody over a certain age still gets really emotional about Texas. Then there's a whole generation that doesn't care because they didn't see it. So, I'm curious. I'm anxious just to get it going again.
Yeah, there's one in particular I can think of that is always played on the third Saturday in October.
All right. So, in all fairness, I used the example of my daughter talking to some Arkansas people earlier today, which is she's 16. In our house, we have our diplomas from Tennessee. I've framed pictures of Johnny Majors and Robert Nealon in the house. The Alabama game means nothing to her. No. And for me, when I was her age, it was our entire world.
Nothing bigger.
Yeah, and so it needs to be relevant. But I'll say this, at least they play. This game hasn't been played, and thankfully, this is just going to be an appetizer for what will become a regular season. I would assume in a couple years.
Yeah, I would think so. And people, over 50, whatever it is, maybe even a little younger. I mean, this was an indelible moment, I remember a handful of games as a kid. I mean, the one that everybody still talks about is I'll never forget that day watching that game. Yeah. And there are not that many games that you had nothing to do with either team that you can. Right. Hey, when I was 7, I watched Nebraska, Oklahoma. Yeah, there may be one. There may be an Alabama, Auburn to kick 6, but most people are hung up on their own teams.
Yeah. Well, and you certainly don't have it with regular season games. You might remember a Rose Bowl or a Sugar Bowl or whatever, but a regular season game, game of the century is so overused now, but back in the day, I love educating fans, young fans, on the history because I feel like it's important. Like, that's a beautiful sculpture of those hogs over there. Well, the names of the 1964 National Championship team are on that side. I want people to read that and know, and usually
young people don't care about history, as I find out, but I keep talking about it anyway. It's like everything else in my career.
Well, keep talking about it because it is important, and I you know, when I heard we were coming here, I've never been to one of these games. This was a
big deal.
It's part of my youth. It's a part of my life in college football.
Yeah, I mean, it's Frank Broyles and it's Darrell Royal and it's, I mean, player after player after player after player. And you know, the Southwest Conference is forever a memory, no matter, although it kind of reconstructed on some level earlier today.
I went back, we have to go here in a second, but I went back and read Dan Jenkins' recap in Sports Illustrated of the December 6, 1969 game. And I'm not encouraging anybody to do something that's outside their comfort zone by going back and reading an old article.
Yeah, it's so
but
good,
man, was this whole place was upside down, and that's the famous game that the president came to. Ryan, we'll see you tomorrow morning. All morning, beginning at let's see, 8 Central, 9. I've lost track of where we
Eastern, are. And then I think I'm going to join you on the big show a little bit later.
Look forward to it. Ryan McGee joining us from stateside here.
Southwest Conference rivals ready to clash here in Fayetteville, Arkansas, as 15th-ranked Texas comes to town, taking on the Arkansas Razorbacks. And if you talk to anybody around these parts, they are really excited about this game, ready for a sold-out stadium, SEC Nation in town, and we are so excited to see what this team in Arkansas can bring to the table as excitement runs high between these two. Of course, these teams first met all the way back in 1894. In fact, Texas was the first collegiate opponent that Arkansas faced after starting the program. The Horns had dominated the all-time series, but the Hogs won the last meeting in the 2014 Texas Bowl. Sam Pittman, the head coach of the Hogs, speaking on facing Texas this week.
Very, very strong, schematic guy. Uses his talent, and he has talent. He's got a lot of talent, skill position, and I think his running back is really, really special. He also returns punts, had one called back Saturday, also returns kickoffs, but he has more than just Robinson, but Robinson's special.
So Sam Pittman, well aware of the challenge that he's going to face with this Texas team coming to town. Even though a lot of the pressure feels like it's on Texas, certainly a ton on Arkansas, they're going to have to deal with Bijan Robinson on the Texas side of things. How can Arkansas's defense help limit him?
I think it's keep everything in front of him, which Arkansas did a great job last year of doing, playing that 3-high safety, keeping everything in front, trying to force the turnover, looking for tips and overthrows. Obviously, you love Jalen Catalon. He needs to come up big with open field tackles. But I think when you talk about Bijan Robinson, I think you're talking about one of the most versatile players and elusive players in the Big 12. Someone that not only can do it coming out of the backfield with runs, screens, swings, but also they're putting him in stack. They're putting him in motion. He's the receiver. And by the way, he ran a nasty skinny post last week.
But that's why if I'm an Arkansas fan, I'm a little worried, especially about the first half. You don't have Bumper Poole. He was ejected last week for targeting. You didn't have Grant Morgan for that game either. He'll be back. But that first half, the D-line has got to hold their ground, because that's what really – Bumper and Grant Morgan, they're erasers, right? Even if the D-line's not perfect, they fly around so well. So without him for that first half, onus on the D-line to really contain Robinson, keep him between the tackles.
You know, the one positive for the defense is they actually looked pretty good even without those guys through points in the game for Arkansas. You are so high on Jalen Catalon. Just tell us a little more about how he factors in specifically in what Texas's offense wants to do.
Exactly. Texas likes to hit the edges in the run game, but then when they split out Bijan Robinson, like Tim was alluding to, that's right in Jalen Catalon's wheelhouse. So they are waiting for that. They are accepting that, and you can put him in the back and have a screen. We'll have two people just eat up some blocks and let Jalen fly around and make some tackles, because that's what he does. He erases all the mistakes in front of him. When D linemen get out of gaps or when the linebacker's not fitting right, he's flying around. He plays at a different speed than everybody else on the field, and because of that, he is continued to rise and rise above everybody else.
So the one thing that's interesting is Arkansas last year and so far in one game, they've never really changed their defense.
No.
They do what they do.
They tried to play a little bit more man last week.
A tiny bit.
But they want eyes on the football all the time.
Eyes on the football,
of who they were playing.
and they do. Are they going to change that at all this week?
No. Wow.
I don't think so either.
Yeah,
and so I think it's going to be Texas gains a lot of yards. Then it comes to the red zone. Can you get a stop? Yep. Gain a lot of yards. Can you get a stop? Right? I think Texas is going to move the ball. The question is it 7 or is it 3?
It's interesting because when you think about it from that standpoint and what this defense may be asked to do, the offense is going to have to step up in a big way. What does Treylon Burks needs to do this week in comparison to what he did last week? The hype's been so high around him. Obviously, he's dealt with injuries, but how can he step up in a big way?
Kendall Briles was really creative in finding ways to get Burks touches, right? Yep. And he's your best player on the outside, but he didn't get any opportunities deep downfield. And KJ Jefferson struggled with some accuracy issues, but there's one thing that's for sure. He can throw the deep ball. And you got a big target like Treylon Burks, you got to get him opportunities downfield. So that's what I'm looking at. I want to get him touches in space for sure, but you got to be able to stretch the field to open everything else up.
And you're talking about someone that's always going to be a mismatch.
Yeah.
Right.
6'4"-ish, 225.
Plays on the inside as well. I mean,
can do wherever you want. You can line them up. That's always going to be a mismatch.
The wide receiver needs to catch the ball too. That builds confidence with everybody else. Catch the ball.
All right, so we've already got some fans out here, but we're expecting a whole lot more for tomorrow morning. We can't wait to be with you for SEC Nation. Marty and McGee get it going at 9 a.m. Eastern, and then we'll be with you right after that, 10 a.m. Eastern. All the analysis. We're going to pick this game and so much more. We will see you then.
All right, Laura and crew, thank you very much. So let's get deeper into this. SEC versus other Power 5 non-conference games. 4 of them in all, starting with Texas and Arkansas. Play a little game of what do you want to learn in this game on Saturday? What do you want to learn from this one?
Well, I want to see KJ Jefferson as a more complete quarterback. He was electrifying running the football, Chiz, but I want to see him throw the football consistently in the intermediate and deeper throws. He was 12 of 21, and the majority of those were right around the line of scrimmage. There were also drops by wide receivers, errant passes. The offense just didn't click very well until later in the third quarter into the fourth quarter, but I want to see them play a consistent offensive game, complete with a complementary passing game to that great run game that we saw last week.
All right, so that game in prime time over on ESPN.
Hey, everybody! What's up? Come on! First time on campus, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Very Texas campus visit from Marty and McGee.
And you know what we have to do as a result? We have to call the Hogs, son. Y'all ready to call the Hogs? All right, here I go.
Here we go. Let's do it. Trapper. Look at that. We are in the parking lot. We are on campus. Look, our name is in lights, which is still super weird, but we got all our friends out here with us in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
How about that?
Dude, I got to be honest with you. It was a lot of pressure.
It was a lot of pressure to do that calling the Hogs deal.
Oh, my gosh. And we're on the ones with microphones on. I was like, if we mess this up, they're going to run us out of town.
Well, the beautiful part about it is we've messed it up on national television before, so it's nothing new. What an amazing opportunity to be here on campus in Fayetteville with all these Hogs.
Come on now.
The first campus visit for Marty and McGee, and man, it's special for us. It's awesome.
No, it's unbelievable. And, man, I'm seeing a lot of – so we ride up Fraternity Row or Greek Row to get here, and everybody, the horns down, the flags are flying, the horns down, hands are out. Listen, this used to be one of the greatest rivalries in all of college football, arguably the biggest in the 60s. And there's a whole generation now learning that this is big. You know who else knows this is big? Justin Moore knows
this old boy right here.
He knows this is big. He grew up knowing this was big, and he's going to join us.
Yeah, there's the horns down. There it is.
He's going to join us right here on the set, as is Sam Pittman. The head hog is going to join us. And, man, you and I talked about this. We landed yesterday, drove in from the airport, and the second we hit downtown, I haven't been in a lot of towns where the energy level was just, you just feel it as soon as you hit the border.
And around here, they'll tell you it hasn't felt like this in this town for a football game since Darren McFadden was running around en route to being a Heisman finalist.
Yeah,
you know,
they're still a little mad about that Heisman deal. I saw a sign back there a second ago.
Texas hasn't been here since 2004.
Yeah.
And to your point, not only is this a beautiful look at the past, old school Southwest Conference, slobber knocker, we hate each other, heated rivalry, it's also a unique glimpse into the future.
Yep.
Because at some point here, Texas is going to join the Southeastern Conference, and they're going to hate them even worse than they do right now.
No, it's the rivalry is going to be renewed, and to me, that was one of my first reactions to that Texas-Oklahoma joining the SEC was we're going to get Texas and Arkansas back. And this game tonight, man, it is going to be, I mean, you got a new coach still at Texas. You got a new coach still in just the second year here in Arkansas and Sam Pittman. And the contrast in styles, to me, is fascinating.
Well, look, specifically about Arkansas, we'll talk about Texas in a second. But specifically about Arkansas, the second that Sam Pittman and Barry Odom walked in the door, the culture shifted. It was a palpable shift in the energy in this fan base. They are energized. There is hope for a very bright future, and you could just feel it immediately. The way they play, Pittman is the perfect guy for the culture of this state. This is the pro team. This is everything. This is their identity.
Yes, sir.
And my God, are they passionate. And then conversely, you go over, there's also new blood in Austin, and there's a whole lot of optimism in Austin because of what Steve Sarkisian did with the Alabama Crimson Tide the past couple years. I mean, they had the most prolific offense in the history of college football last year.
That's all.
So he's going to bring that over to Texas. So I just can't wait to see. This is going to be a really intense atmosphere tonight. That place is going to be absolutely on fire for this football game. And I talked to Sark yesterday. You guys will see that interview in SEC Nation coming up. But he said his message to these guys is we have got to match that intensity. This is going to be something you've not experienced before. And so it's going to be fun to see.
No, it's going to be fun to see, and it is going to be so loud in there. They're guaranteed, no matter what happens, it will be a top 5 attendance in the history of this stadium. And again, for those of you who don't know, this right here, this is hallowed college football ground right here. I remember as a kid, even growing up in the Carolinas, you did not miss this game like on ABC on a Saturday afternoon. It just always felt so loud. Like when you watch it on TV, I'm like, are games that loud in that part of the country? And they are. And tonight is going to be, I mean, it's going to be, the decibel meter will be broken.
It's wonderful. It's what makes college football beautiful, and I can't wait.
Come on now. I mean, the energy level is so high getting into this town. And you talk about Sam Pittman, you talk about Barry Odom, and oh, by the way, man, there's some dudes on that roster. And the best defensive back in the SEC, right, Roman Harper?
Says Roman Harper, yeah. Catalan is a very special player, and in talking to Coach Odom this week, he said that's the guy who brings it every single day. There is a standard of personal excellence that he comes to practice with, he comes to meetings with, film sessions with, that demands of everyone on that roster that they match it. And any coach will tell you, when your best players are your best leaders, then you have something extremely special, and that's what Coach Pittman feels he has and Coach Odom feels he has in Catalan.
You know, those are great points you just made, but I got to be honest with you, all I can see is that big giant head right there. Like floating by.
It's awesome.
It's a little different than being in the Wilderness Lodge studio. I mean, but just the atmosphere is great. The turnout's fantastic. We appreciate y'all being here. And, there are as many horns down as I've seen.
There's also
WPS.
a whole lot of T-shirts. There's a lot of T-shirts. We got to be really careful the way we read them.
You got to be T-shirts and signs.
Be careful.
Yeah. Because we like being on the road. We don't want the show to get canceled.
There you go, America.
There you go. I'm gonna let y'all at home. Man, look at that place. Look at this. That right there.
Hey, some of the greatest uniforms in college football. I was telling Jordan Rogers yesterday, the way that red pops off their white jerseys is just. I love that logo.
Oh, it's
y'all got an awesome logo.
No, it's the best. And you know what? Somebody who has that logo on everything he owns.
It's Razorback royalty, y'all.
Yeah. Justin Moore, what's going on, man?
My man, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
To your point, there's a whole lot of lions and tigers and bears, but there ain't but one Razorback.
I love it. And by the way, his tour bus is right over his shoulder, and look at the back. Y'all get a shot of the back of the tour bus. I mean, if you ever wondered where the man's allegiances lie, they know on every interstate in the United States of America whose bus that is.
And I take that into enemy territory, too.
Oh, yeah.
Every weekend.
Proud of it. Every weekend.
That's brave. So, and you know what? And we've talked a lot about the history of this game. And because of conference realignment, schedule, and whatever, this game hasn't been played a lot. But, man, this was it when we were kids.
It was, and I'm old enough to, remember that other conference we were in together when we were the only non-Texas school. And, I remember my dad and mom taking me to games, and I remember I was at actually one of the last games we played in the Southwest Conference, and I remember the crowd chanting SEC, SEC,
Yeah.
and I was probably 6, 7, 8 at the time.
Yeah.
It was just, that's something that's burned in my brain I'll never forget. At the time I didn't really know what it meant, but I remember that
You
chant.
do now.
And so obviously that chant has not waned at all, as you guys are well aware of.
So as a guy who's so passionate about this program, has been to countless games here your whole life, season ticket holder now, you've lived through the really rough years here, okay? So wait,
Yes,
I want you, as somebody who's been friends with the last 3 or 4 coaches here, what is the culture difference when Sam Pittman walked in the door? How do you define it as somebody who knows?
Well, Arkansas, we always kind of view ourselves as David in the David and Goliath deal, which I think is another reason why we can't stand Texas, because they're Goliath,
Yeah, man.
know? And so we have to make up some ground in some different areas in order to be successful. Arkansas is a very special place and university and can be a really great football program. But it takes a guy who's as big a Razorback fan as me and all these guys and gals out here, and Sam is. And it's obvious. And the players, we went from, the year before where they wouldn't fight for the previous coach. They'll run through a brick wall for Sam. And knowing Sam personally, I can completely understand why.
Oh, yeah.
As well as you guys do.
Yeah. Well, and you understand your audience, right?
Yeah.
But when you're on the road, when you're in the recording studio, I feel like we understand who our people are. Sam Pittman, as he's walking up here, he understands who his people are.
And he knows who he is.
Right.
Which is important.
Right. Yeah, the coaches, by the way, just walked in behind us, so I'd like to think they were cheering for us.
He's already upstaging me.
What's going on, man? Fire up that damn jukebox. All right, so on a similar note, everybody around here has told me there hadn't been a game as big as tonight's game around here since Darren McFadden was running around all over the conference. Fair? What's your
Probably
perspective
so.
on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had some really good years, and I guess, 10, 11, those were really good years. And we went into, I guess it was 12, maybe 13, don't quote me, a top 10 team in the country, and then the wheels came off, and we ain't been the same since. But obviously, Sam is bringing that back, and to your point, we haven't seen this place full since we bowled this in. And so really,
there he is.
Really a special day, and, obviously just seeing the tribute you guys did. It's a special day for a lot of reasons, and that puts things in perspective, when you talk about 9/11, and I'm old enough to remember it and all that. But when you couple that with, as you said, those people did what they did so that we can enjoy doing stuff like this.
That's right.
And I can't imagine how electric it's going to be tonight. I'm a little perturbed that I've got to go to work, my real job, so I can't stay for the game.
So how does that work? You're in Council Bluffs, Iowa tonight. You're across the river from Omaha. So how does that work? Are you on stage all the time going, I need to score? You got a monitor
I
on the
learned my
stage?
lesson a long time ago. Don't do that because it can negatively affect the show. So I'll find out after the show, good, bad, or
people jukeboxes
too good, man.
And igloo coolers full of Coors Light. Those are your people right there, Coach.
Hey, that's us, baby. Proud of it.
Sam Pittman right here on the set with us. And
thank you.
Coach, the energy level, Marty and I were talking about this earlier, just coming in from the airport yesterday morning, as soon as we hit the town city limits, the energy level, you could just feel it.
You can feel it now. I mean, it's been about since Wednesday. You could really feel the excitement, and look at this right now,
So I know that you guys go into every game saying it's the next game. They all count the same, but this one has more juice. It just has more juice.
This one just means more to the people.
Why?
Why? Because the old rivalry, because at some point, I think when we got out of the Southwest Conference, we were at 14 championships. Texas was at 21. Sort of like if you looked at who goes to Atlanta. We were going to Atlanta, so to speak, in the Southwest Conference. Back then, it was Arkansas, Texas, like it is whomever it is now, Alabama and whomever. And so there became a nice little rivalry there. And what's great about football? Rivalries. I mean, if there wasn't nobody to dislike, it wouldn't be any fun. So
that's right. You got to hate somebody. That's it. Well, and to that point, listen, when you're the head coach at a legendary program like Arkansas, you're always getting tugged on by like the old dudes, right? In the jackets and the gray hair.
Yeah.
But as soon as Texas popped up on the schedule, the old dudes, I'm sure, are pulling you over and listen, coach, we'll talk about them other games, but week 2 is the one we got circled.
Yeah, week 2 for week 2. And you're 100% right. And then after the game, they'll be tugging on me about week 3 and week 4. But you're 100% right. I said last year, they said, who's your rival? And they act like I was dumb. I said, Texas. And they said, well, you don't even play Texas. I said, well, we do this year, So, but around here, this is what it is. I think it might be the largest crowd ever in the history of Arkansas tonight.
So I know in this life, it's hard to talk about yourself a lot of times, but I want you to be introspective for me just a moment. Why are you such a perfect fit for this program? I want your answer. Why? Why are you so good for this program?
I don't know. I just, growing up, I had a love for Arkansas. The greatest T-shirt I ever saw was when they annexed Grove, Oklahoma into Arkansas. That was a great T-shirt. But I think because of my passion, when I came out of high school, I wanted to come to Arkansas. I love the people of Arkansas. I really do. I love the state of Arkansas. I got a place in Hot Springs. I don't know. I feel like I'm Arkansas.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. We talk about the emotion of this game, though, and listen, to a 19-year-old, they don't know the history of Frank Broyles and Darrell Royal and all that stuff, but there is obviously, as we said, a difference in the energy around the building. How do you manage that with a bunch of young guys who are getting ready for the biggest game they've ever played in?
I think I made a mistake last year when we went to Missouri. It was a big, big game for us, with Barry being coach there and all this stuff, and then we laid egg the next week against Alabama. Of course, it was a great Alabama team, and a lot of people, didn't play well against them because they were that good. We're not going to make that mistake. We're going to prepare, which we did. We had a good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice, and it's Sunday. I told the kids, I said, hey, look, depends on how you want to feel. Sunday's going to come up. It just depends on how you want to feel, and. It's up to us. It's Texas is a name, and it's who we happen to be playing, but it's up to how we play. And I think our kids are ready to do that.
So what has to happen in order for you to win? What must happen?
We have to start fast. We have to get our quarterback rolling. We have to build confidence in him. I liked how our offensive line played last week. I thought they played well. We gave up 2 sacks. One of them was we gave up on a blitz. Another one, KJ probably should have thrown the ball away. He was outside the pocket. So I thought they played well. I love our defense. I think they're going to play well. I think we match up well with them because they're so talented on offense, especially at the skill positions Texas is. And so we got to start fast, and we got to build some confidence. And to be totally honest with you, if we start fast, our crowd will take over the game.
Love it.
No, that's it. You talking about this crowd right here. Yeah, I think they're definitely going to take over. Yeah, Coach, you're the man. We appreciate the time as always, and we appreciate you being so real. And
thank you.
Yeah, and we also really appreciate that picture. That's like, we love that picture of Lenny Dawson, right, burning the heater at halftime of Super Bowl. That one's just as good.
It really is. I mean, any man that's sitting there, with his igloo and his cold silver bullet there.
Yeah,
that's my guy.
I drank silver bullets during the game, and then I'd drink Miller Lite after.
Hey, that's good, man. That's good. Do not discriminate against the cold beer.
There you go. All right, you're the man. We appreciate it.
Guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's listen, this man right here, we can talk all day. Let us know how you dressed.
Thank you, brother.
Let us know what tribute you're paying, and if you got a slightly inappropriate T-shirt on about Texas, you can show us that too. # Show Your Saturday. Record favorite hashtag post for the Southeastern Conference Network right here. And there you go, son. Hey, we mentioned social media earlier.
Our favorite thing is the tweeter machine.
Our favorite thing is the tweeter machine. When people aren't calling us idiots, we like to watch maybe some idiots on the tweeter machine. And this is what our producer Randy
What about that graphic
picked
they
out
made
for. That's
the tweeter
amazing.
machine? That's pretty
I like that.
spectacular.
That looked like that was producer Randy maybe made that on the home PC. You think that's what happened?
Was there supposed to be a tweeter on the screen that I missed? There it is.
There you go. Wright's Barbecue, just down the road. And look at that.
Flipped it upside down.
That right there, that's extensive. Like, how would you understand? So they took a picture of Bevo and they flipped it upside down for a second.
I think you could accomplish that with the cheap Photoshop app.
And then just on my
Look
phone.
at that big
Look at
old
here
hog.
now. Man, we asked the question. We were asked the question is on SportsCenter last night. Is it okay to cook the hog if you're a fan of the hogs? And clearly the answer is yes. Yeah.
Man, I recently ate. I did a whole hog barbecue deal, and they wanted me to eat 20 different bites of the hog. I ate like mandible. I ate eye socket. It was unfortunate.
Can you eat a mandible?
I love Academy Sports. That's
Hey, you know what? You know me well enough to know I love me some church signs. Our buddy Bunky Perkins put this up here. First Baptist Church in Fayetteville says, football is only a game. Eternal things are spiritual. Nonetheless, beat Texas.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Andrew Hall.
Praise the Lord and horns down.
Man, I love me a sassy church sign. Hey, speaking of horns versus hogs.
Speaking of Woo Pig and Horns Down and Go Horns and all that, I wanted to find out how the folks here in Fayetteville felt about hogs versus horns. So I went out, man on the street, and I did some research.
All right, y'all, we're here on Dixon Street in Fayetteville, Arkansas. The nationally ranked Texas Longhorns are in town for the first time since 2004. The buzz in the town is crazy, and I have some questions. It's time for horns versus hogs. Beef or pork?
Beef, absolutely.
Now, why beef?
Because I ain't eating my own mascot.
My man, I love it.
Ooh, pork.
Now, you go to school here.
Beef.
You're very definitive in this answer.
Very.
Beef.
Beef.
Better pet, Bevo or Tusk?
Tusk. Bevo attacks the Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh my Lord!
Would you rather play a round of golf with Jordan Spieth, a Texas boy, or John Daly?
No, I don't. Hey, I like Daly, but Spieth, baby. Spieth tracker, baby. Spieth all day.
John Daly, man, we're smoking cigarettes on the course, no shoes. That's Arkansas right there.
Would you rather watch a movie starring Jerry Jones or cheer for a football team owned by Matthew McConaughey?
Anything to do with McConaughey is a yes, so absolutely the latter.
You like how he talks?
All right.
No doubt in my mind, Jerry Jones.
You are hogs to the death.
100% hogs till I die. Hogs by 90 this weekend. Horns by 90 tomorrow. That's all you need to know, baby.
Horns by 90. He called it.
My man number 8 did not need any more Red Bulls.
Average blood alcohol content was higher than 0.08, let me tell you.
Hey, how's this?
Thank you, guys. You are awesome.
Welcome to SEC Nation, a site of a reunion of one of the greatest rivalries in all of college football. We are ready to go. Contivo, Roman Harper, Paul Feinbaum. Guys, where's Jordan? Anyone know where Jordan Rogers is? We've seen him anywhere?
I'm feeding Tusk over here.
Oh my goodness.
Here, hey, Tusk.
Here you go. Here you go. Come on.
Tusk is eating grapes. Oh no. Oh my goodness. He kissed Tusk. I can't. All right. That's a good way to start SEC Nation. We're coming your way right now. Hungry Hogs. The Longhorns stampede into town. Number 15 Texas versus Arkansas in a pressure-packed Week 2 clash with a sold-out stadium on tap at least 75,000 will be roaring, rocking, and calling those Hogs in just a few hours. Anybody want to turn that dang jukebox on? What do you guys think? I think they're ready to go, as we are ready to go as well. We're going to see a lot of that today, so just get used to it, right?
Is that a penalty?
Yeah.
What are you throwing flags over here, Roman? You got a flag in your pocket?
It's literally been like the last 4 hours. There were people out here literally at 5 o'clock.
They were.
Like,
There have been people
for
here for forever. They've been camping out all night long. We are so glad to be back on a campus again and excited that it's here in Fayetteville. We got a great show coming your way. SEC Nation on location. We're all over the conference. Everything you need to know about the Florida quarterback situation, the Georgia quarterback situation. It's all coming your way later on, as we will be joined by RG3. We'll be joined as well by Dan Orlovsky with everything to break down. Paul's going to make a big pick later on, too.
Ooh.
And guys, you may have seen it off the top. Jordan just had a very intimate moment with Tusk 5.
Yeah.
Number 20. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead,
It is
Paul.
time for Texas and Arkansas. I don't know what else you need to say. This is one of the most interesting matchups of the year. You're going to see it a lot more in the future.
Yeah, we're also going to pick it later on. Just wait for that. Number 20.
How about Texas against Arkansas? Hudson Card, his first start, 67% of his passes he completed. Had a great game, but Bijan Robinson is the guy. They got to get him going early, because I tell you what, the Razorbacks defense, they're great against the run. If they're going to stop Bijan, they're going to have to do it without their leading tackler, Bumper Poole, who won't be available for the first half because of
this place is going to be absolutely packed. Everybody that you talk to here says, obviously it's sold out, but it might be even more than sold out, standing room only. Tim, let's go a little bigger picture here. This is a winnable game, you think, for Arkansas, and it's huge for this fan base. It's huge for this community and everybody here today.
Yeah, I think it's a winnable game, but I think there's something more important than this game here that's happening, right? It's a culture. And I think what Coach Pittman is doing, and he's building a culture that's not just about one night, it's not just about beating a rival, but it's being able to build something that can sustain and last. And I'll be honest, as a college football fan, as an SEC fan, it's hard not to fall in love with what he's doing here at Arkansas. It's hard not to fall in love with the coaching staff. It's hard not to fall in love with how hard these players play. As someone that loves football, when you watch Grant and Bumper and Jalen and these guys play, you fall in love with them because they play harder than most other people. Listen, their execution isn't always there. All right, their talent isn't always there. But the way they play is. And even last week, their execution was terrible, but you still loved the way they play. And when the backups came in, they played just as hard. I think that's the culture they're building, and I think when they really are able to get some more recruits, more people invested in here, more sponsors, I think you could see something that could be pretty special.
Hey, Pauls, who's under more pressure in this game, though? Because Texas, of course, everybody knows eventually they're going to join the SEC, maybe sooner rather than later. They're ranked, and then you've got Arkansas trying to make a big statement against this team that's an old rival tonight.
The pressure's on Texas because Texas, after all, owns college football, don't they?
Not really.
I mean, that's what I've been led to believe. Arkansas is the little kid that's trying to beat up the big guy, even though that's not reality. That's the perception. And I think it really plays well to this culture here because Sam Pittman's an underdog guy. Nobody wanted him to be the head coach except for this school. You got a lot of players here who may not have been recruited by the same as the University of Texas. So I think the pressure is clearly on Steve Sarkisian and the University of Texas.
Well, I agree with you. I think all the pressure is on the Texas Longhorns. They have to perform at a certain level because all the pressure's on them. Arkansas, they're in the SEC. Most people look at them as the fourth best team in the SEC. Well, Texas in the Big 12, you have to be number one or it's a failure that year. So the pressure's on Steve Sarkisian and what they're doing. But I can't talk enough about Arkansas, the defense that they're playing, the good things that they do have. A player named Jalen Catalon.
You love him.
I've talked about this guy every day this week, and I will continue to harp on it because he will be the difference maker.
Harp on it.
Very smart
there we go. He will
See what you did.
Thank you. You see that? You're picking that up. I appreciate that, guys, for listening.
Roger that.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, goodness. Oh, no.
Hey, look,
the rest of us don't have names that work.
Somebody's got to do it. So, look, Jalen Catalon, this defense, they will fly around. I'm looking forward to the matchup between Bijan Johnson and Jalen. Who wins that matchup when he run the ball? How many times do you get him down? That's what it's going to come down to today because they're going to move everybody else around.
Yeah, pressure in this game is on Texas, but schematically, pressure is on Arkansas's offense. They underperformed last week. It was a tie ball game with Rice in the fourth quarter. They were 3 of 11 on third down. That has to improve. One way to do that, you need to be able to push the ball downfield. How do you do that when it's not working? Run your quarterback.
Yeah.
Your best runner, your best athlete on the field at times is KJ Jefferson. He was the guy that made the big plays. If you run him, the defense is forced to add another to the box. Now you can open up shots downfield for Treylon Burks, where the mismatch is the biggest, I think, on the field, downfield for him.
And I do think they're going to run KJ, and I think they will have some success with it. But what it also brings, it brings more confidence to him, right? When you get a running quarterback going, now that passing game is going to be just a little bit slower, a little bit more confident. And hopefully for him, he's able to get a few big ones going with his legs, and I think it might open things up with his arm.
How many times did you pound your chest after a throw compared to a run?
Yeah, the run feels better, right?
Pound in the chest
I don't know that.
Well, you guys had also look. The receivers have to catch the ball when KJ throws it to them too. All right, KJ, when he makes the good throw, the wide receivers got to catch it. That also builds confidence.
All right, so Arkansas is hoping that they can put Texas in a rut. Anybody?
Oh.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan, for that.
Taking digs at each other, that's part of the sport. And it's something that we haven't seen in several years from the Razorbacks and the Longhorns. Woo! Big Sue! An old SWC and future SEC class, Arkansas and Texas, there's always been testiness. Gene Wojciechowski remembers when a prize 52 years ago was basically an executive order.
When Richard Nixon arrived for the Texas-Arkansas game on December 6, 1969, he did so not only as president, but as a one-person selection committee. Whoever won this regular season battle of unbeatens between the number 1 Longhorns and number 2 Razorbacks, the so-called game of the century, would be crowned by him as national champions. Arkansas led 14-0 after 3 quarters. Then Texas quarterback James Street, master of the wishbone, started doing James Street kind of things on the ground and even in the air.
Peschel has it. Peschel is down on the 13-yard line of Arkansas.
Texas had its comeback. Nixon had his post-game moment.
Well, one of the great games of all time, without question.
Then in January, after their Cotton Bowl win against Notre Dame, the Longhorns got more than a plaque. They got their official national title on the 100th anniversary season of college football.
There's a great book about that day that expands beyond football. Horns, Hogs, and Nixon's coming. It's a seminal moment in the history of the sport, particularly between these two. They've got a great history, and they've got a future now that Texas has accepted the invitation to join the SEC. You mentioned Texas, and there are a lot of signs out here, hand signs like that one. And when I think of this Arkansas-Texas rivalry, I think of the Right Reverend Houston Nutt after the 2000 Cotton Bowl. Houston ran over, put him with Benedict Arnold and Judas Iscariot right there.
Sign game is strong.
I'm going to tell you something. They're going to get a test and a taste of what it's like in the SEC with Sark, because they don't like them there. I mean, it's sort of born into Arkansas fans.
You're 100% right. I looked at this game. I'm like, man, I don't know which team to pick, because I think that Texas might have more talent. But I think Arkansas is going to come into this game, a home game. They're going to be excited. Defense is going to play like their hair is on fire. And don't forget, Texas has a young quarterback, Hudson Card. This is on his second start on the road. I tell you, in picking this game, I'm going to go with Sark, but I think Arkansas is going to play a hell of a game. It's going to come down to the end.
This is the day we find out about Texas. I mean, last week was a great start, tricky game against Louisiana. Hudson Card was air-free, very prepared. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, completed 67% of his passes. Now in this environment. By the way, Arkansas is a veteran football team, a physical football team. Yeah. They like to run the ball, and their quarterback can make plays. I'm with you. I think it's close. I'm going with Texas, just the athletes. They find a way late to win that game.
Last week, Texas was the best team in the Big 12. No question about it. They beat them at 23, Louisiana and Lafayette. Yep. Now, it's a lot tougher this week. Yeah. They got to go to Fayetteville for the first time in 17 years.
Wow.
Texas close, real close.
Well, you know what? Bijan Robinson, you see how many yards he's had from scrimmage the last 5, had a career high in touches last week. He might break that on ESPN tonight. Sark will feed him.
Bear, you're going Texas too, right?
Yep.
close game.
A very close game.
And on this 20th anniversary of 9/11, remembering those lost and their families, Fayetteville Fire Department has this truck, Ladder 16, with the American flag displayed on it. A beautiful tribute here, as well as just about a block away from here, Arkansas with a flag for every life lost, 2,997 lives. And you see all the flags, just incredible to see them displayed that way as we honor those lost and those who gave their lives to save others in 9/11. And at Florida, a memorial stair climb paying tribute to the firefighters who also lost their lives by climbing the equivalent of 110 stories of the World Trade Center. That's what they're doing with the Alachua County Fire Rescue. They're participating in this beautiful gesture in the swamp. Speaking of the Longhorns, they'll play their first SEC opponent since that announcement. No coach has won his first 2 games at Texas since Fred Akers in 1977. Marty caught up with Sark yesterday.
Coach, of course, it's the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 tragedy today. I saw earlier this week you mentioned that you lost a cousin on that day. So what do you think about as we enter the 20th anniversary of 9/11?
Well, I think, first and foremost, I'm grateful to live in the United States. We've got some tremendous people that defend us, defend our country. Talk to the team about it, that day was a big day in our history, especially in our recent history. And to get attacked on our own soil, but then to have those there to defend us, that's what I think about. We're very fortunate, very grateful for what we have here.
So well said. I agree 100%. So coming over here to Texas from Alabama, I wonder, what is the most important lesson that you learned during your time at Alabama that you want to utilize at Texas?
Well, I think, even going into this game, where you're going on the road, SEC team, sold out crowd at night, I think it's poise and composure. So that you can really play to the best of your ability with the right discipline and mental and physical toughness needed to perform. And I think that's one thing when you're at Alabama, you're used to those environments because it's week in and week out. You're the biggest show in town when you get there. And for us, obviously, this being their first sellout in some years, we need to understand that as much as they're here to support the Razorbacks, they're here to watch us. But we got to make sure that our composure and our poise are in the right place so that we can perform at a high level.
This is a unique moment, too, because it's not only a look at history. This is a nasty rivalry from back in the Southwest Conference days, but also it's a bit of a peek into the future with you guys joining the SEC whenever you guys join the SEC. So what will the message be to your team tomorrow evening before you guys take the field?
Well, the biggest message is going to be this is going to be a hard-fought physical football game. I think Coach Pittman's done a great job of changing the culture here at Arkansas, building this roster. They're big, they're physical, they believe in running the football. Defensively, they're extremely well coached. Barry Odom does a fantastic job. So this is going to be a hard-fought, intense physical football game, and we've got to match that intensity from the opening kickoff.
Really appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Great to see you.
All right, great stuff from Marty and Sark there. Greg McElroy and Joe Tesser, give them a big round of applause. They're calling your game tonight.
This crowd is great, aren't they?
They're amazing. I've never known you to be one to play to the crowd. I will say, apparently you guys have issues with Tusk. He had nothing to do with
He wanted no part of us. Playing hard to get. I get it, though. It's early. Make us earn it a little bit.
Well, he was fine with Jordan, so he's only got eyes for
Jordan's
him.
handsome. I get
I know.
that.
A lot
Tess
more
and I
handsome
leaving
than
something
you guys.
to be desired.
Yeah, it's true, but you guys are both really smart, so at least you got that going for you. Speaking of those smarts, you have been able to speak to both of these teams as you'll call this game tonight. Feels like Arkansas thinks they have a really big chance tonight.
No doubt.
And a really good chance to win this game.
Yeah.
What did you learn from them?
Listen, we spent a lot of time with both coaching staffs yesterday. When you look at Arkansas, they have the defensive talent and the defensive scheme to match up with Texas. Texas is not a rebuild. This is not a situation where Steve Sarkisian comes in and he has to get things going. There is a lot of talent in the program, and I really think, and I know people are going to go crazy over this, but Bijan Robinson at running back, if this kid stays the course, he could be among the all-time greats that Texas has ever had. I know Ricky Williams and Earl Campbell.
Hang on.
The kid's dynamic, Greg.
Tess starts every week calling me on Monday, said easy with the superlatives. And
no
here he
best.
goes.
The moment right here.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, give me a break. The reality is tonight will be the most chaotic environment some of these Texas players have ever seen.
Is that right?
Is
that right?
And I'm telling you, and I'm not just saying it because of where we're at.
The loudest environment I ever played in was 2010 against the 10th-ranked Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yeah,
in this
right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Are you carpet bagging for a Senate
I am
run?
dead serious.
Are you pandering for an election?
I am on record. Y'all take a peek. 2010 against Arkansas.
Check it out.
The most insane environment I ever played in. And I'm telling you, we were worse that day.
Get in here, guys.
We were worse that day because of the fans and the environment.
Timmy.
Welcome back.
Timmy.
Welcome back.
Reunion.
How are you? Look at this.
Guys, don't box out
Fashion
Jordan
forward,
here.
Jordan. How are you? Look at
This is like this is Nation Hall of Fame.
It really is.
This is OG right
For those who don't know, Joe Tess used to host this show, the original, the
Which
OG.
doesn't matter anymore because the media
stop.
superstar,
All right.
the icon.
And Greg McElroy was on the show.
Though. He didn't dress like this when he was on Nation.
Yeah, what do we got? We got a lot more coming your way here on SEC Nation from Fayetteville. Coming up next, we're going to get to the bloopers of the week, the things we can't stop talking about. That's called Y'all. And then a little later on, Paul's going to make his pick. Is he going Hogs? Is he going Longhorns? You're going to find out. We'll be right back from Fayetteville. Yeah, of course. All right, and now for the Aflac trivia question. Arkansas has 4 wins all time against AP #1 opponents, with 3 of those coming against Texas. Who's the only other #1 team that the Razorbacks have beaten? Come back after the break for the answer. I'm having so much fun with the fans, I wasn't even doing the trivia question. We'll be right back. Before the break, we asked you the Aflac trivia question to name the one AP #1 team that Arkansas has beaten other than Texas. The answer is, anybody want to take a guess? Well, it's LSU. I just gave it away. The Razorbacks beat the top-ranked Tigers 50-48. That was a triple overtime game. Remember that one in 2007? It was a whole lot of fun. Ryan McGee takes a look at the history of Woo Pig Suey.
Cowbells. Midnight yells. The naval horn. Truman's taxi. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy, got somebody, who the hell are we? Hey, flip.
2001. And Mr. Two Bits. All of them. The SEC, as in the Sound Effects Conference. Every game in this league is a symphony of noise as tradition. It just means more, as in more decibels. Right, Coach?
Yes, sir.
But no SEC sound is as unique or nuanced as the one that can be heard across all 75 counties of Arkansas. This amazing place where calling the Hogs is indeed one's natural state. Woo, pig, suey, y'all. However, you should be forewarned that if you are going to earn your hog hat, you better get that cheer precisely right. It takes practice. Trust me.
Big Suey! Razorback!
One long one and 3 short ones. Though Arkansas didn't join the SEC until 1992, the roots of its dirt-rooting mascot and cheer are tied to a current conference rival. In 1909, the Arkansas Cardinals upset LSU. Head coach Hugo Besney said the team played like a band of wild Razorback hogs, and it stuck. In the 1920s, Arkansas was struggling in a home game, so a group of local farmers who knew exactly how to rile up a bunch of sluggish oinkers commenced to doing hog calls. It caught on with the crowd, and they haven't stopped since. Woo is just a good old attaboy for a job well done. Pig, well, that part's obvious, right? And suey comes from sui da, the Latin term for the scientific family of mammals from which feral pigs are begat. So you thought this was just a bunch of people hollering at hogs. And look what happened. I just taught y'all some science. I taught y'all science, but you just saw it. Marty and I need a little help. Let's do the cheer. Y'all want to do the cheer? All right, here we go. Ready? Woo!
absolutely how you do it. Hey, it seemed like you practiced that in front of the mirror or something, Ryan. That was great stuff. Does Commissioner Greg Sankey want to call the Hogs? You want to? No?
I called the Hogs in Indianapolis during the Sweet 16. So those are the places I have permission to do so.
Good deal. Commissioner Greg Sankey here with Paul Feinbaum. And, Commish, I just want to set the record straight here because some people thought you showed up at this game because Texas is going to be a member of the SEC in the future. You were coming to this game all along. You had this one circled on your calendar years ago.
I was here in 2004 when the teams played, and I still have the game program at home, actually, from that event. So 2 years ago, I could have told you I would have been here on this weekend.
You did a road trip with your wife, Kathy, last week, and you guys went around, saw many SEC stops. What was it like for you to just be back amongst the fans and back in live action again?
You know, to be in Knoxville, I think 70 or 80,000 fans in a stadium, we forgot what we missed. And then fast forward to Charlotte with the Georgia-Clemson game, when it was full, you really forgot what we missed last year. So it'll be fun to experience the same kind of atmosphere here in Fayetteville this evening.
Okay, we buttered you up. Let's.
Hey, why do I always have to do the buttering?
Yeah. Let's ask the salient question. Arkansas is hosting Texas tonight. When are we going to see the University of Texas in the SEC?
Yeah, we've talked about the 25 season, and yesterday was an interesting day. Everybody has relationships, a lot of work to do. We're focused on 25. We wanted to be respectful, even though when you go through conference transition, people will throw that back at me. But a credit to the SEC and to the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma, who wanted to be a part of this great conference. And we're going to have an orderly transition, and that's why we're focused on 25, but I'm a pretty adaptable person.
Adaptable, I don't want to overanalyze, although I spend my life overanalyzing and interpreting things you say. It's possible we'll see them sooner?
I don't know that it is possible, honestly, because there are contractual relationships involving their current conference, but we have a forward-looking thought process, and part of my responsibility is to be prepared when you have those outreach, and we'll see.
Yeah,
right?
you are definitely prepared for what could happen and if it could happen sooner. When we talk about all the conference expansion happening around the landscape of college football, everything's changing so rapidly. It feels like college football playoff expansion has been put to the wayside a little bit. Where are you on that?
We're looking forward to a conversation over the next few weeks. A lot of stuff about me and my role. I think the 12-team playoff is healthy for college football to bring teams and conferences that haven't had the opportunity into the postseason. But I never thought it'd be a quick process. And so, you know what? We're in not a quick process right now.
But those conversations are happening over the next few weeks.
Yeah, and I don't think that's been a secret. But that doesn't mean there'll be an ultimate decision. I've never suggested there's guarantees we'll go early. The responsibility was to think through postseason, figure out a healthy way to update the postseason. Remember, I'm the one who says 4 works really well, so we can stay at 4. Yeah. So there's a lot of work still to be done, and we'll see how those conversations continue to develop.
Commissioner, you mentioned at the onset taking a little bit of a break as you went on your road trip. I'm curious, as you reflect back on the last couple of months. A year ago, you were given credit by a lot of my brethren in the media for literally saving college football.
Yeah.
It seems like now everyone's blaming you for every single thing that happens. How do you internalize that?
You compartmentalize what you do, who you are. So is it? I'm at media days, and there's a report in the Houston paper that the 2 universities have reached out, and things obviously accelerated. And you have to make your peace with what's happening. And Paul, I'll just take the parallel experiences with COVID. A lot of pressure, a lot of questions, and you reconcile yourself with decisions. You make the best decisions possible, and you move forward. So in this circumstance, whether it's college football playoff, what's the future of the NCAA, adding 2 teams, how do we schedule, we're going to have to go through the same experience and make decisions based on the best available information. Not everybody will be happy, but I'll be happy to answer the questions that people have about, hey, how did you develop the playoff? Why is this the right approach? Or why adding 2 great universities is right for the SEC?
As we let you go, who are you rooting for tonight? Because Texas is going to be in the SEC at some point.
We have logos on jerseys, so I'm not exactly neutral tonight.
There we go.
That's
all right.
reality. That's the real world.
Kamish is saying, woo pig. Thanks so much. Enjoy this environment behind you. Later. think the crowd, you guys like it? Reese went with the Hogs. There we go. We'll find out. Hey, last week Paul fired her because she picked Clemson. Paul was right. We'll see if she can redeem herself.
Might get fired again.
Yeah, Paul, we'll find out who you take in this game right behind us. That's coming up a little later on. Paul's pick. You do not want to miss it on SEC Nation. All right, these fans have been out here for hours. Literally, some of them have been here since like yesterday afternoon, camping out, getting ready to go for what's going to be a huge game. And Ryan McGee actually asked them what it's going to be like to welcome Texas into the SEC. They were camping out in some tents, trying to get the best possible position, and these are actually students, which makes it that much better. Ryan McGee asked these guys what it would be like to have rival Texas in the SEC. Take a listen to this.
We're here on the eve of the Texas-Arkansas game. Texas is going to be in the SEC in the very near future. All right, Arkansas fans, how are you going to welcome them to the league?
Bring them on. We've been waiting for them. Glad to have them. We were here in '69 at the big one.
It's not as easy as they think.
Definitely agree with that. The defense is a lot better, too.
What does Texas need to know if they're going to play football in this conference?
Be ready to go 8-4 every year and not make any bowl games that are any good.
SEC is all about passion. You know, these other conferences, sometimes they talk a big talk, but they can't really walk the walk.
I'm finding myself a slab of concrete to sleep on tonight to watch them Hogs, so that's commitment right there.
Yeah, it's the SEC, but the S doesn't stand for soft, so Texas needs to step up if they want to join this league.
You can't win the Big 12. What are you going to do here, right, boys?
Yeah, exactly right.
That's exactly right.
Blue pig, horns down.
Blue pig, horns down.
Penalties. Just kidding. Some intriguing historical angles in this week's SEC slate. Arkansas and Texas meeting for the 79th time. The biggest meeting was the game of the century in 1969. Number 1 Texas rallied from a 14-point deficit to beat number 2 Arkansas on its way to the national championship. A lot of people talk about that one. Missouri and Kentucky don't have as long a history as the Razorbacks and Longhorns, but there was some bad blood last year. The Tigers snapped a 5-game losing streak against the Wildcats. This one, big time in the SEC, as Paul told you earlier. Whoever loses this game in a tough spot. And it's a family reunion in Baton Rouge. LSU hosting McNeese. The Cowboys starting quarterback is Cody Orgeron, Ed's son. It's believed to be the first time a Division I player has faced his father's team in a game since 1982. And Tennessee hosts Pittsburgh in the Johnny Majors Classic. Majors won a national championship with Pitt in 1978 before leading the Volunteers to 3 SEC titles in 16 years in Knoxville. We got a couple of Vols guys here to tell us a little more about this connection. Ryan McGee and Paul, take it away.
Laura, we appreciate it. Yeah, they're calling it the Johnny Majors Classic. They're taking this very seriously. It was already scheduled home and home with Tennessee and Pitt. And so we got two guys here. Paul was in Tennessee as a student when Johnny Majors arrived from Pittsburgh. I was a student at Tennessee working for Coach Majors in the athletic department at the end of his tenure. The beginning was a lot smoother than the end, but Coach Majors had a huge impact on my life. Every day at practice on the tower, on the offensive tower, asking me how I did on my history test, asked me if I was still dating that girl from Nashville, asked me what dad my game was refereeing that weekend. And he was so larger than life. I walked across Johnny Majors Boulevard to go to work, but yet he still was so relatable, which is why everybody, for the most part, loved Coach Majors.
It was such a different time, Ryan, but think about this. Tennessee had flirted with Majors earlier, and it didn't work out, and there was some feeling that he might not come back. And finally, Pitt's on its way to a national championship. They have a game with Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, and they went ahead and hired him.
Yeah.
They hired him in early December, and the headlines everywhere in the state, Johnny comes marching home. He still had one more game to coach. This would never happen anymore, and it was the biggest thing that the state had seen since Johnny Majors had played.
Yeah.
When spring practice, senators and governors showed up. First game, it was a major media event. He had a really rough start, and then he turned it on, almost got to a national championship, and ended unfortunately. But the connection with Pittsburgh was legendary.
Yeah, and that's why I wore this tie, quite honestly, because you see the pictures of Coach Majors, and he's got this tie on as he's being carried off the field. Tony Dorsett, of course,
right.
Or Tony Dorsett, as Coach Majors always called him. But what an impact on me. And his second job as an assistant coach was here at Arkansas. with Frank Broyles, 1964 to 67. Those are some really good football teams. And Coach Majors would tell a lot of great stories. And he would say, Ron, I'm going to tell you some stories about Arkansas. And he'd tell me about coaching Jerry Jones and coaching Kenny Hatfield and coaching Jimmy Johnson. And then he would tell me some stories. And he'd say, all right, you can tell people those stories. You can't tell people the stories I'm about to tell you about when I was assistant coach in Fayetteville. So he was a colorful character is the best way I know to put it.
Yeah, and I will say this. I'm glad he's being honored today. And even though he won a national championship, I don't think Coach Majors gets enough credit as being a legendary coach and a historical coach because of what happened at Tennessee. He was fired, and Phil Fulmer came in, and then he went to Pittsburgh and did not have a good encore
Inherited
there.
a terrible team. Yep.
But he is still beloved by everyone in Tennessee and everyone in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. And you know, you and I are both Thomas Wolfe guys. And, of course, you can't go home again. And when Coach Majors wrote his autobiography, he called it You Can Go Home Again. And I still have a copy of that in my office. But it just, the impact that he had, I agree that he's underappreciated. But I tell you this, people can say what they want about the one-year Lane Kiffin era at Tennessee. Lane Kiffin, second day on the job, called Johnny Majors and said, here's a key card, here's an office, you can come here all you want. And Coach Majors would park in front of the building illegally, and the campus police would give him a ticket, and he'd go, I can park wherever I want. It's Johnny Majors Boulevard. So, Laura, the impact that Johnny Majors had at two different schools, and to this day, I'm so blown away at the tribute for today. And by the way, Josh Heupel, during the Vol Walk, had on a tweedish suit to pay homage to Coach Majors today. So I'm glad to see him getting his due here in the 100th anniversary of Neyland Stadium.
A lot of respect for Coach Majors, and rightfully so. Let's take a look at Hometown Connection, brought to you by T-Mobile. The University of Arkansas is celebrating its 150th anniversary this year. Here are School Chancellor Dr. Charles F. Robinson. Big Red is up here for the cake. Oh, my goodness, thank you, Big Red. I almost took 2 cookies. That's a beautiful cake, and this is an amazing occasion. Thank you guys for being here.
Smell it. By the way, Big Red beat me in
the cake,
paper, rock, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors.
Smells really good.
Chancellor, you think, can I try this?
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to.
Wait.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
I feel bad kind of messing it up, but it looks so good. Roman?
I'm in.
Really good.
It looks amazing.
That's beautiful.
Really good. Smell it.
All
Get
right.
your face down.
We got more coming your way on SEC Nation. Tusk might want to taste some of this, too.
Let's give some to Tusk.
He was done with all those grapes. I don't know if it's part of Tusk's diet, though. We'll be right back. And SEC Nation is presented by Johnsonville.
I want the whole cake.
Yeah, straight frosting.
Is it good?
Biggest here in a while. That team from down south's coming to town. You know, that herd from Austin. Our old rival from the old Southwest Conference. They've got that mascot. Oh, what's his name?
Oh, my Lord! Oh!
Yeah, that guy. Now, he may have scared the fleas off old Ugly, but you tell your team, don't bring that bull here. This is Razorback country. And when we run, it's with full force. You just consider this a christening for what's to come in the SEC. But just so you know, this ain't a welcome wagon.
Another old Big 12 meeting, Texas and Arkansas tonight. We highlighted this game. Hogs might have something for
We really have. I think this is the coin flip. It depends on which quarterback you think won't make a mistake. I'm thinking Hudson Card is not going to make a big mistake, so I'm going to go Longhorns.
This is a pick from my boy Matthew. All right. Hook 'em, baby. It's the Horns.
Okay. Matthew. Hook 'em. Texas.
All right. This is a sneaky, difficult game. If I had any guts at all, I would pick Arkansas here. They were sleepwalking a week ago. Looks like an easy win. This is going to be a battle for Texas on the road. We're going to find out how good they are. I'll go with Texas, but it's going to be so close.
So you don't have any guts at all?
I don't have any guts on that one. Yeah,
I do. Bear and I are picking the Horns. 80%. Bear and I are on the Hogs.
Bear's loving it. Bear's loving it.
That's a good pick.
Here 15th-ranked Texas against Arkansas. Justin Moore, the country singer, the sensation, also the songwriter, and proud Arkansas fan.
If heaven wasn't so far away. Is that okay? Is that good?
Sounds better than me.
Is it better if I'm like, you can't even bait a hook?
I like that one, too.
Hey, can you rate his singing skills?
Yeah, what was that?
That was like a 2.
He's a lot bigger than I am.
Watch out, he'll knock your hat off. All right, Justin, we're going to let you go first as we make our picks here. By the way, the whole point of this, you got to go to the side that you're picking. So Arkansas is here, Texas is there for the people at home. Oh, you're going over there?
Yeah, okay.
All right, well, tell me why. Go ahead, Justin. Yeah.
I think they're stepping into a hornet's nest that they don't realize.
There we go.
And I really believe in our defense. And I think the offense hopefully will make a big improvement. And is this by design, this burnt orange, by the way?
You know,
I think it's brown. It's kind of brown.
Wait.
Okay.
All right.
I'm standing over here for now.
All right.
Let's see.
Tim, you're next. Who are you taking?
Listen, I love what Sam Pittman's doing. I love the staff. I love the coaching staff, the strength staff.
Whoa.
I even love the fans right now.
What?
Guys, you're going to be great. You're just not great yet.
What?
Tim goes to Texas. Roman, what are you doing?
I think the defense of Arkansas will be a difference maker today. I think K.J. Jefferson makes enough plays offensively. And also, I love these fans. They will be a difference maker tonight. I'm going Arkansas. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
All eyes should be on Arkansas's offense. They got a lot of questions to answer, but I tell you what, I'm with you. The defense, baby. Let's go.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's go.
Oh, man. Tim, it's feeling a little lonely over there.
It's a little long. It's okay.
Okay.
I've stood by myself before.
All right. Paul's pick is presented by Regions. Paul, you got to tell us what you're going to do here as we hear this crowd ripping and roaring. They've been calling the Hogs. They want to turn that dang jukebox on.
What do you got, Paul?
What are you going to do, Paul Feinbaum? Oh, boy.
I grew up in Memphis loving the Hogs.
Uh-oh. Don't do it.
Oh, no.
Don't do it. Oh, no. Don't do it.
Oh, yeah!
Everybody except Tim Tebow picks the Arkansas Razorbacks. That'd be an enormous win for this fan base, for the Hogs. Maybe beating the 15th-ranked team in the country. What an incredible environment here today. We're thankful to Fayetteville for all the great hospitality, and we are so excited to see what happens in week 2 of SEC play. We've got Alabama State and Auburn coming up next right here on the SEC Network. We will see you next week on SEC Nation. Don't forget, Marty and McGee started all off at 9 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you at 10 a.m.
I feel like I lost all my friends.
Call those Hogs,
I have
Tim.
no more friends.
Tim, you got no friends. I'm sorry. We love you, though.
Been some choppy waters in recent years for the Razorbacks, but now they feel they are on the rise as they run through the A. A sold-out Razorback Stadium for this big one on a Saturday night. Glad you're with us, everybody. Joe Tessitore, as always, alongside Greg McElroy. Texas now ranked number 15. It is year one, week 2 under Steve Sarkisian. Last week, they opened up with a top 25 clash against Louisiana. They look good. Here in Fayetteville, you're watching the NCC on ESPN. Texas won the toss. They elect to defer. We will see what the Razorbacks offense looks like right away. 79th all-time meeting between these former Southwest Conference rivals as Dicker kicks away, and we will get a chance to see KJ Johnson. Robinson off right tackle, and he is met and driven back. That is Hayden Henry, the linebacker, who gets the start tonight.
Have to be very good tacklers in the open field.
Tackled for a loss. 2nd and 11. Smith. Good gas play by Traylon Smith.
A pretty good career. A whole bunch of guys there.
Attacking the ball. Robinson is pushed back. Grant Morgan was the first to get there. 3rd and 4. Pressure up the middle, and Card goes down, and it's Grant Morgan again. The ultimate overachiever. Former walk-on who became a second-team All-America and is a team captain.
Yeah, watch right here. He's going to fake out and then come back in, and that's exactly how he beats him inside. Look at him just swim right around. Gets the guard confused. The guard stays left. Bijan stays left, and there's no one home in the A-gap for Grant Morgan. So athletic there at the second level, man. He has lived up to it through the first 5 quarters of the season. 3rd and 6. Another run for Jefferson, and this time the big quarterback catches a seam. He's 6'3", 245, and when that freight train gets rolling, watch out. Rocket Sanders in the backfield with him. He pulls it to the outside, beats a man, has it, and a whole lot more. First down, Razorbacks. First down, catch, and more, Burks. And that's what they will need tonight. And Arkansas is on the board. Texas has 5 total yards to this point. Hudson Card, redshirt freshman, out of the pocket, being chased, extending the play, and then shot down right near the sideline by Greg Brooks. 2nd and 5. Empty set for Card. Looks right, and then is gobbled up and thrown down. John Ridgway. That's so disappointing if you're the Texas Longhorns. This is a 3-man rush against 5 offensive linemen. 3 defenders, 5 blockers, and still results in a sack. That just can't happen for the Longhorns offense. Got to give credit, though, to Ridgway.
Smith on first down. He gets free. Traylon Smith crosses midfield for the Hogs.
How about the left side of this offensive line? Look at this double team as he easily gets to the second level. Cunningham locking up with that linebacker. And if you miss, you still got 3rd and short.
2nd and 4. We're going to have the first down. Big tight end, Blake Kern. Comes to the other side and gets it complete. Smartly picking it up is Johnson. And Johnson makes the most of it. Johnson fights his way to the 5-yard line. And they go underneath to Johnson. Johnson fighting for the goal line and finding it. Dominic Johnson, touchdown Hogs.
he cross the plane? Looks like he does. What a drive there by the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Arkansas at their best when they're tough, when they're blue collar, when they out tough teams and play with a chip on your shoulder. Well, that shoulder just crossed the goal line, and the Razorbacks are up 10-0 on number 15 Texas. And he'll get it again, and he's tackled in the backfield. Henry was the first to get in there, and then it was cleaned up by Nichols. But Hayden Henry was shooting that gap, and then Nichols got the tackle.
Yeah, a great job there by Henry. Nobody was there for him. He just saw the red seat apart. Man, he fired his gun.
0-3 on third downs. Hard. Trying to extend and right at the line of scrimmage.
Receivers in open space with room to run.
Third 3 and out for Texas. Dicker bobbles it, and then it's partially blocked. Arkansas recovers. Oh, it is all about the Hogs right now. Yurchek came in on Dicker and gets the block punt. Crawford was there to recover it. Those hands, critically important. And remember, Cameron Dicker, a longtime kicker and kickoff specialist, was served on a silver platter for Jefferson and the offense. And Smith gets loose. A stiff arm, turns inside the 10 before he is ridden out. And the block punt that went ahead for only 4 yards.
Guys creeping in close, but man, they got to find some room in the run game.
Card quickly to the outside, and that is Davis. Juan Davis is a freshman tight end. Play clock running down. 3rd and 8, Card. Has time. That's a wobbler. It was deflected at the line of...
Right there. He checked, actually, and you see they were showing pressure, and Catalan was rubbing the top of his helmet, and all of a sudden they dropped into a drop 7 coverage. So they made the check. Texas did.
KJ Jefferson and the Hogs with a 13-zip lead. Gets it to the outside to Warren, and Warren reaches out to the 30-yard line. First down, Jefferson. Look at Jefferson. KJ Jefferson. And he's breaking free inside the 35. Well, you just made the comp of saying Dexter McCluster. How about KJ Jefferson with a little bit of prime Cam Newton back in the day?
Man, he looks a lot like Cam Newton. I'll tell you what, he's that guy unblocked right off the edge. I mean, it's no problem whatsoever. Just calmly shakes him out of his shoes, gets backside. Beautifully done by KJ Jefferson.
This is his longest attempt from 44. And with a little help, it goes right in. Cam Little, it's his first season as a left tackle. Robinson, not much there at all again. That front 7, you said breathing fire. Smart player who's got real physical gifts, and he showed it today in that upset. Traylon Smith, here's a guy with physical gifts as well.
Thanks, Jess. Coach Pittman, you said you liked the way your defense matched up against Texas's offense. You held them to 78 total yards. What has impressed you about the way they played so far?
Well, I think we had a pretty good idea of what they were going to do, and we had one of the best D coordinators in the country, and I was really proud of the way they played, and they got after them pretty good.
What did you think of KJ and the offense's ability to settle in after those first few series?
Yeah, we scored points. I wish they were 7, but we scored points there, and I thought KJ running the ball helped us a little bit. Got a long half. Last week we were down 3 going in and won by 21, so got a long half, but I'm happy with where we played the first half.
Thank you for the time.
Razorback defensive linemen.
Bijan Robinson is going to try to get this second half started. Katie.
Well, guys, one thing we know about Sark, he doesn't panic or change his demeanor whether his team is up or down. He told his offense to settle in. He felt like they were very anxious in the first 2 quarters. He said Hudson was dropping his eyes while receivers were dropping passes. There were some missed blocks as well, so he challenged this group to play calm and clean football.
2nd and 7. They go with an inside screen. I mean, this Arkansas front is flying around. Whittington had no chance at all.
Yeah, and that was a beautiful play there by Grant Morgan.
2nd and 7. Card being chased. Card spinning and then wrapped up at the 10-yard line. With a 3rd down, first mistake of the night. Sensational effort from Foster. And then what do you do when you get to the other side? You give it to your big dog, Bijan Robinson, with the touchdown. 2nd and 11. Jefferson, tons of time downfield, wide open, and into the hands of Tyson Morris. Good pass pro by Johnson to give Jefferson that time. Big strike for 44 yards. Right to the line. Tempo. Johnson. Look at this hole. Dominic Johnson had a 5-yard touchdown in the first half, and now running downhill here in the 3rd quarter.
Well, give him a bone because he just saved a life, man. How about the throw? We'll go back a second. He cleans up that pressure off the left-hand side, keeps his quarterback's jersey clean. Now they give it back to him.
Well, now they're giving him work, and his quarterback just gave him a block. And he's inside the 10, and it's 1st and goal, Hogs.
What a sequence there from Dominique Johnson, the outstanding. I want to pound it as best I can.
And that's what they'll do. Reaching out for that goal line, coming up just short. Trying to go and over and in.
Surge initially from the Texas Longhorns. Well, Tavondre Sweat actually.
This Hudson Card have the answer on 3rd and 4. He's got time. He's going to tuck, run, and come up a yard short.
Maybe go for the hard count, see if you can draw Arkansas off sides.
From his own 43, 4th and 1, Texas is going for it. Robinson. Close. He was met in the backfield and just wrapped up. Hayden Henry surged in. Grant Morgan was right there too. And the Hogs with a turnover on downs. Barry Odom's defense on fire tonight.
Wow. These two guys unblocked, eyes in the backfield, and they make the play right here. Nothing they can do. Man, you look at Henry, comes in, that crown of the helmet. The crown of the helmet is what initiates the contact. Got to be careful. Oh my goodness, is that targeting? Of course, it can be initiated from up top.
Look at it. We're inconsistent with this rule.
And instead we play on. And KJ Jefferson with a quarterback run. KJ Jefferson, tons of time, goes to the far side, and he'll have a 1st down to 6. This is another short field goal from 22. He's made from 24, 24, 44, and now 22. He's got 4 field goals. A lot of people said NC State, but here's Mississippi State up big in the second half. That ball is knocked out of the hand of Card. And that is being played as a fumble. And Greg Brooks recovers it for Arkansas. They're going to look at this one, but Greg Brooks did the right thing, said, I'm playing that as a live ball. Is this knocked out of the hand of Hudson Card? Wow. Zach Williams got in there as Hudson Card was bringing up his motion.
And it looks like as Hudson Card's bringing his arm back, that's when the ball's dislodged. Here it is. It's a great look at it right here. Arm coming back. There goes the ball. Long before it starts the motion forward, that call is going to stand and be confirmed. What a huge play right there by Williams.
So the turnover. And Rocket Sanders. And the Razorbacks now just run wild inside the 10 into the end zone. How about that Hogs tonight, folks? Texas looked so good last week. Looked so good against a South Louisiana team, a top 25 class. But this Arkansas team is different, isn't it, Greg?
It is, but this is a good run. I mean, they just bend it all the way back. I mean, good flow by Texas. I mean, they're playing hard, trying to pursue. But how about Rocket finding that backdoor cut as Texas over pursues, and there's nobody home. And how about the finish there in the corner of the end zone? Just a beautiful job of him turning, finding green grass, and then this, boom, not being denied until he finds pay dirt. Just a beautiful run for the young man that was playing wide receiver in the spring. Said, man, you're too good with the ball in your hands. We got to put you in the back.
Scoreboard correct. 33-7. Number 15 has been punched right in the face tonight. And it's this defense that has been doing their job.
In cases, they've gotten bigger, they've gotten more physical, and it's showing tonight.
Green again. That is that speed, that burst, that quickness. 2nd and 9. Sanders, little wiggle, little burst, and it'll be 3rd and 2.
In the middle of the offensive line has done a great job tonight.
3rd and 2. A.J. Green. They are crowding him. Kid ran a 10-3 in high school. Just showed that track speed for 30 yards of dynamite here in Fayetteville. You want to know what kind of a night it is for the Arkansas run game. 309 yards rushing tonight by Arkansas. A.J. Green with a burst and 7 more on the board. And a future conference rivalry. Robinson again, and Robinson again is driven back. Bumper, Poole, and the rest of them wrestling him down the line. It'll be 3rd and goal. Hornsby on the run, and look at Hornsby. Malik Hornsby, the backup quarterback, takes it all the way down to the 10-yard line. Now this kid can fly. There are many you talk to in the program who describe him as the fastest player on the team.
Not even close is what they tag it with. He's the fastest player on the team, and it's not even close. He has that kind of juice.
Start, Greg. First 2-0 start they've had in the last 5 years. It's a good, solid win for Arkansas.
It's a beautiful win. A dominant performance from Arkansas. Both lines of scrimmage. one that Sam Pittman, the former offensive line coach, now head Hog, is going to be awfully proud of.
We got a field stormer. And folks, you're saying, now why would you field storm? It's a number 15 team in the country. You want to know why? Because rivalries matter in college football. And this one runs deep, real deep. Arkansas thinks this of Texas. The past, the present, the future, all converging to celebrate a win over the team that they don't like so much. The Hogs walloped them here. Katie.
Thank you, Taz. Coach Pittman, you said you... What's a win like this feel like?
Oh, look at the fans. Isn't that something? Good for them. I've got such a good coaching staff. What a great group of kids. And they played their tail off, and they were well prepared. And I'm just so happy for the kids and the state of Arkansas.
You said you have the best DC in the country. Well, you might have one of the best defenses in the country. What do you think start to finish of their performance?
Man, weren't they something? And then they got something going when we were trying to, melt the clock down. Obviously, we wish we'd have stopped them at that point. Good team tonight and beat a good team.
KJ took some flack last week. What did you think of his leadership and play tonight?
Well, I think Kendall had a really good game plan with him, getting him the ball and allowing him to run. And I think it really got him rolling, throwing the football.
Is Dixon's streak going to be rocking tonight?
I know I'm not going to be down there. I'm too old.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Go.
It's a good win for Sam Pittman. What's this team going to look like in the toughest division around?
I'll tell you what, I don't want to play them. That team will punch you and fight you every single snap. The thing of beauty tonight, dominant performance.
Texas is going to be in this league in a few years. Arkansas says, welcome to the SEC early. We play line of scrimmage ball. We run the ball, and they did so for 333 yards. 40-21 over number 15. But don't go anywhere because we got another great rivalry coming up. College football continues. Utah, BYU. That does it from Fayetteville. We're going to be partying deep into the night. Enjoy Utah and BYU right now.
Jesse and Joey back with you. We know in a couple of years, Texas and Arkansas will be an SEC game. They renewed the historic rivalry on Saturday night in front of a full crowd of Woo Pig. Hudson Card trying to find someone downfield. The story in this game was up front for Arkansas.
It really was, and their defensive line was just too physical for the offense of Texas. They only rushed 3 here. Hudson Card struggled, only 61 yards passing because the defensive line was in his face.
Arkansas got a 16-0 lead at the half. First time since 2015 Texas has been held scoreless at half. Here you go, 3rd down. Arkansas now at 26-7. Card picked.
Yeah, Barry Odom's the D coordinator at Arkansas. He's doing an unbelievable job dialing up plays. Last year, Alabama and Steve Sarkisian struggled throwing the ball. It was the only game all year that Mac Jones couldn't get it done through the air.
Ball knocked out, fumble recovered. Raheem Sanders cuts it back. It was all Arkansas.
It was just physical up front. Offensive line, defensive line owned this game for Arkansas.
How about the final score? 40-21. Sark, what now?
I get back to the drawing board. You know, this was not a performance I was anticipating, but you know, we'll find out about ourselves and what we're made of. Because I really believe this one game's not going to define us, but we got work to do, that's for sure.
We got plenty to get to because there was a real opportunity for our friend Sam Pittman and his Razorbacks in Fayetteville as they welcome in a former conference rival and a future conference rival, Texas coached by Steve Sarkisian, who as Alabama's offensive coordinator last year, beat the Hogs. What, Chiz?
52-3.
52-3. And you saw Jerry Jones. How about Milwaukee Buck champion and Razorback great Bobby Portis? And then they ran wild. Dominique Johnson, one of several that contributed on the ground, Benjamin Watson.
This was a statement game. You know, we talked about Texas coming in. They're coming into the SEC at some point. I think that Arkansas may have heard us and said, no, we're going to make the statement today.
Indeed. Dicker the kicker becomes Dicker the punter, who becomes Dicker the snap dropper. Arkansas ends up with great field position. It's a field goal. They led at the break. 16-zip third quarter. KJ Jefferson, who played really well. That's just a great play by B.J. Foster.
Athletic interception, man. Not much you can do about that. Great read. Tipped it to himself.
And gives Texas great field position. Then eventually on the goal line of the Longhorns, one of the great running backs in this country, Bijan Robinson, plows his way into the end zone. So it's a 16-7 game.
Arkansas left a lot of points on the board in the first half, kicking field goals. You worried that momentum swing may have gone Texas's way, but what a huge answer by KJ Jefferson, Arkansas's offense.
45 yards to Tyson Morris. Jefferson, 14 of 19. Big improvement from a week ago. Later in the drive, Arkansas's Traylon Smith into the end zone, 23-7. 26-7 now. Zach Williams gets to the quarterback. Hudson Card, ball comes loose. It is a fumble. Razorbacks recover. Watch it again. His arm is coming back when he loses possession.
Arkansas's defense all day long, they flew to the football. They played with energy. They were excited to be out there today, and they proved their point.
Texas only passed for 118 yards. How about this freshman back? They've got backs everywhere. Raheem, call him Rock Sanders, 26 yards. He had 50 on the game, 8 carries, and that touchdown.
Little Rocket Ishmael. Second coming.
Indeed. Rocket Sanders. 33-7. The route is on. Now 33-14. Another freshman back. This one by the name of A.J. Green. So you saw Rocket. Now you see Green. He goes 30 to the house. 40-21. Hogs run for 333 yards. 7 yards a carry. 4 touchdowns. Hold Texas to 258 yards on the game. They get 3 sacks. The defense was all over the place. 40-21. Razorbacks get an incredible win. Their first against an AP top 15 team in 5 years.
I feel really blessed because I've got such a good staff, and our players are, they do anything we ask them to do, and we love it here in Arkansas. So I just feel really, blessed to be the head coach at Arkansas, and we're going to lose a game eventually, and all those things, and I'm going to. People are not going to like me so much, but most of them like me right now, and I like that. They were swarming, and they did a really good job. Our linebackers are really good players. Barry had the idea to go back to our 3-man front, and our team bought into that. And certainly the first half, the entire game they played outstanding, but the first half they just set the tone completely for the game.
Remember, they had to have the second half run to beat Rice last week, but Saturday against the Horns, Hogs scored more points, gained more yards, ran for more yards than they did against the Owls. They also allowed fewer yards to Texas than they did against Rice. What a performance it was. And all of that, Chiz, gets us to what you said off air earlier in the evening, that Arkansas has had better improvement from week 1 to week 2 than anybody in this league?
Yeah, and let me start out with this first. When you see that guy on his press conference, you got to love this dude. I'm all in on him. That team is all in on him, and they played like it. To me, without question, in our league, this is the most improved team in our league, probably in the country. And I'm talking on both.
You say from week 1 to week 2?
Yeah, from week 1 to week 2, from what I've seen. Offensively, I looked at a quarterback, KJ Jefferson. He had the one mistake with the pick. He was confident. He was poised. He executed the offense. I watched the offensive line waffle. I mean, they flat waffled Texas. For 300-plus yards, it was dealer's choice for what back was going to run for 60 or more yards. Defensively, it looked like they were playing with 13. It was like synchronized swimming. You got to be here. You got to be here. You got to be here. And we're in unison, and everybody's working together. This was a beatdown of epic proportions. I know it was 40-21, but from watching that game, It was not that close.
No, it was not.
This was an amazing win, and on both sides of the ball, Arkansas was the most improved team to me from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned KJ Jefferson, because coming into this game, for me, it was about, can KJ Jefferson be a complete player? Now, he didn't light it up throwing the football. They didn't throw for a ton of yards, but they threw enough and had enough success throwing the football to give a little balance, to give a little doubt to that Texas defense. And the thing you saw tonight, where they eliminated those mistakes, they eliminated the drops, they hit the open receivers when they had opportunities, they made plays in the passing game. Jefferson hit Morris for that long, big, important answer after Texas scored in this third quarter. They were able to do things that we didn't see them do last week in the passing game. So I am much more confident in KJ Jefferson than I was after last week's ball game.
Yeah, well, this morning when we were talking about it, it was how's this defense going to stand up against Card and against Bijan Robinson? Last week, we saw they needed 3 interceptions last week just to get back into the game. And so the way that they responded today was, okay, Texas, we're going to send you to 4 3-and-outs in the first half. 4 3-and-outs in the first half to that vaunted Texas offense. And so they responded. Barry Odom had a great plan. You mentioned how they were swarming. They were aggressive. They made plays. They got turnovers. There was no lull that we saw last week defensively or really offensively. And that's why they came out and had a 40-21 win against a top 15 opponent for the first time since 2016.
So here's the thing. They got Georgia Southern at home next week, and then 4 consecutive weeks. Let me give you Arkansas' schedule. Host A&M, at Georgia, at Ole Miss, host Auburn. That's 4 ranked teams. We're going to really see where they sit. We think they're improved. But how dangerous can they be in that 4-game stretch?
I mean, I think you saw tonight that they can be dangerous with a defense that lines up as well as they do and executes their assignment as well as they do. I think they have a chance to be in every ballgame, particularly with the way they run the football. But I want to go back to this, guys. Like, I criticized the Arkansas fans for rushing the field after the game, and you were like, oh, they hadn't had a chance to do that in a while. And I was thinking, like, less than 2 years ago, they were losing at home to Western Kentucky and San Jose State. Now they're not only beating a ranked team, but one that was their biggest rival that was once in their conference, that'll be in their conference again. I thought, after second glance, I made a wrong statement about their willingness to rush the field.
Arkansas does not like Texas. This was a big deal.
Let me tell you something. What you did is you made history, and what you did is you made the people in Arkansas who believe in your ass, who believe in you because they're here, so they believe in you. You made them come back, right? And on Sunday morning, when they get up to go to church or get up to go to the Waffle House or whatever they want to do, you have given them an opportunity to be proud of the damn Arkansas Razorbacks.
What we doing? What we doing, folks? Turn that damn thing!
Oh, my goodness. I'm told there was a tweet from Arkansas that said simply, welcome to the league.
That's what we hope for, right?
Petty.
Well, look,
so petty.
And it's Texas. Nothing's petty because they probably would have done the same thing. Let's keep in mind, like, let's be real. Texas has a ways to go if they're ready to jump into this league and be competitive. Oklahoma may be able to do it right away.
Oklahoma would probably
right
lose
away.
2 games. Texas would lose 3 if they jumped in this year.
3? Texas would lose 3 in this league?
If they played in the SEC week in and week out? Yes.
You think they're that good?
That's kind. That's kind.
That's
very
a 5-loss team, right?
They're already down 1.
Right.
That means they have 10 more.
And if they played Arkansas' schedule, which is number 1.
One that wasn't ranked, taking care of business against a ranked team. What Arkansas did against Texas in Fayetteville. Folks, this is a team you do not want to mess with, and Sam Pittman has indeed built something special in Northwest Arkansas. Make no mistake. All right. Final thoughts on this second Saturday?
I think it's what we talked about earlier. It's about all of these other conferences tripping up. SEC has not done that so far. They continue to show why they're the most formidable athletic conference in the country.
I think we're getting to that point in the season. We played 2 games, been 2 weeks, starting to see some major injuries start to creep up. How are coaches going to deal with that? How are teams going to adjust moving forward?
Improvement. Arkansas, man, how can you gloss over what just happened with Arkansas?
Nobody's glossing over this.
And nobody enjoys Sam Pittman's press conferences more than me.
That's right. That's right. You know what? We had to go somewhere and turn that damn jukebox on, folks. Will Pig.